The meeting, call to order. Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6, according to the Open Public Meeting Act, this meeting on February 28, 2024, was sent to our town and the record and published on January 8, 2024, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and on the Rochelle Park website and Facebook page, and has remained continuously posted as the required notice under the statute that is being recorded and videotaped. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Committeewoman Ortola?
Here.
Committeewoman Judge Carvello?
Here.
Committeeman Miller?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Pichi?
Here.
And Mayor Bassetti?
Here.
You have a quorum.
At this time, we raise for pledge of allegiance. Moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence. This time we got a couple of proclamations to do. I'd like to call forward the birthday boy, Christopher Alvarez.
Hey.
His family, and his family, if they want to come up too. Vince, do you want to go read it from the microphone up there in the middle? That way you. He's right there, guys. Right by the. Perfect. Christopher Alvarez. Whereas Christopher Alvarez of Boy Scout Troop 114 is being honored February 28, 2024 for achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. Whereas the Eagle Scout rank is the highest rank that can be attained in the Scouting. Whereas less than 5% of those involved in Scouting ever attained this prestigious rank. Whereas Chris has held several positions such as webmaster, senior patrol leader, and junior assistant scout leader. Whereas Chris has earned many merit badges, including the merit badge for electronics. Brandon has received national outdoor awards for camping. Chris has hiked more than 65 miles and camped for 29 nights. Whereas Chris Eagle Scout project at Rochelle Park Municipal Building, renovating Township gazebo, repairing and painting it, and restoring it back to its natural beauty. Now, therefore, be it resolved on behalf of the Township Committee, I, Vincent Bassetti, Mayor of the Township of Rochelle Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, do hereby extend congratulations and best wishes to Christopher on becoming an Eagle Scout this day, February 28, 2024. Thank you. So, by the way, as a result of your work, we're doing a no smoking ordinance for the township properties. Yeah, we're going to refer to it as the Chris Alvarez.
Chris, you need to say. Okay. Yeah.
Oh. Next up, I'd like to bring up Brandon Amarico. Your birthday too? Congratulations. Whereas Brandon Amerigo Boy Scout Troop 114 is being honored on February 28, 2024 for achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. Whereas the Eagle Scout rank is the highest rank that can be attained in scouting. Whereas less than 5% of those involved in scouting ever attained this rank. Whereas Brandon has several positions such as assistant senior patrol leader, senior patrol leader, and junior assistant scoutmaster. Brandon has earned many merit badges, including a merit badge for backpacking and welding. Brandon has hiked over 128 miles, that's camped over 60 nights. Brandon Eagle Scout Project at Rochelle Park Avenue, Rochelle Park, providing the community with a beautiful bench of flowers to give it a park-like setting. Now, therefore, be it resolved, on behalf of the Township Committee, I, Vincent DeCitis, Mayor of the Township of Rochelle Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, do hereby extend congratulations and best wishes to Brandon on becoming an Eagle Scout this day, February 28, 2024.
Here we go. Yeah, sure, just now. Okay, let me just
Congratulations again.
Yeah, you can make a motion to manage that. Was it the promotion? It's just, it's a recognition. Yeah, I mean, you could. Yeah, you think it's unnecessary, but, because it's just a proclamation, it's not really much, but you could, can't.
Yeah, we should make a motion to add to the agenda the fire department presentation.
I raised one.
Get a motion, right?
This is chair, and I did this.
Mayor, if I may, for the Boy Scouts. So I want to congratulate Brandon and Chris. I may have mentioned it before, but first time I met Chris, it was during Hurricane Irene. And we were both in the church basement. The church was giving out meals to those who were affected by the flood. And him and his brother were so little, and they were sitting in the corner trying to do their homework and get something to eat. And I met his parents, and it's just been a joy to watch them grow up since that time. And it's been great to see them both excel in Boy Scouts. And Brandon, his father and I were in the same class, and I've known him and his sister from church, and it's just great to see him and his mom here tonight, and his family. I see the rest of his family over there. So congratulations to both boys. It's been a pleasure to watch you over all these years.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to add the proclamation for Peter Donatello and a presentation for 50 years of service.
I'll make the motion.
We'll add that to the agenda, Mayor, right?
Right, adding to the agenda. I'll second.
I'll second it.
This time, I call up,
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Chief,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to apologize for the misunderstanding about the agenda tonight with this. It was a little mixed up in dates. February 18, 1974, Pete Donatello Jr. joined the Rochelle Park Fire Department as a probationary member. From then he moved on to a regular member. He became an officer, accomplishing the office of chief of department from 1990 and 1991. During his term of service, Pete oversaw and ran fire at the deli on Rochelle Avenue. He also was the South Bergen Mutual Aid Coordinator, which goes and helps mutual aid towns when they're in a time of need during a fire. Pete's also our OEM director in town. It's been an honor actually to work with Pete since I started in the fire service in Lodi since 1998. He's always been there as a mentor for me and others, and I thank him deeply for the guidance he's given me over the years. So thank you for your service. As of February 18, 2024, Pete accomplished 50 years as a volunteer within the Township of Rochelle Park. So thank you.
I think I would be remiss if I didn't just say a few words for a minute or two. I'd like to thank Chief DeFalco, Assistant Chief Greco, all the members of the fire department that are here, my family that's here, my friends that are here. I thank you for coming out tonight. I would also like to say that it's been actually my honor and my privilege to serve as a volunteer fireman in Rochelle Park for 50 years. 50 years is a long time, and I will tell you, there hasn't been one day in those 50 years that I ever regretted being a Rochelle Park fireman. I've had the opportunity to serve with some really great men and women. A lot of them are here in attendance today, including the officers and the members that are here. But it was an honor and a privilege to be able to serve with my brother in the late 70s and early 80s. Greg had joined the fire department. He was an auxiliary member in Maywood, put the CD and he became a Rochelle Park fireman. I thought that was a huge thing. Having the opportunity to be with him, ride the calls, and go on the trucks with him. And I met my wife 3 months later, right? And that was all in 1974, which was really, that was probably my best accomplishment. But also having the honor and the privilege to serve with both of my sons. Right, Peter, as you know, was the chief of the fire department, and my son Jimmy, who, when he moved, became a member in South Hackensack for a short period of time. But it was an honor and a pleasure to serve with them. The folks that are here tonight, I've had the opportunity to work with, to be with, and to say that they're actually my friends, and they're good friends. You know, fire services is brotherhood, and I would say that you are my family, this is a brotherhood. Not one day, ever that I ever regret putting on the uniform, riding the trucks, and being with you folks. So it is my honor to say thank you to you for allowing me to serve, for allowing me to be a member, for spending the time with my family, with my brother, with my sons, with my extended family that are here today. And the ability to be able to stand here and do this and accomplish 50 years is, I just can't imagine how, I can't believe how quick it went. I can't imagine what the next 50 years will be. And how fast that's going to go. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you to the Township Committee for bestowing upon me this honor. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. And again, thank you.
Whereas Peter Donatello joined the Rochelle Park Volunteer Fire Department on February 18, 1974 at the age of 18 years of age. Whereas Peter Donatello has been an active member of Rochelle Park Volunteer Fire Department ever since. Peter Donatello has held every position in Rochelle Park Volunteer Fire Department. Peter Donatello was fire chief from January 1st, 1990 until January 31st, 1991. Peter Donatello not only is a volunteer fireman, he is also the emergency management coordinator for the Township of Rochelle Park. Whereas Peter Donatello was a fire official for the Township of Rochelle Park and is a fire inspector for the Township. Whereas Peter Donatello has answered numerous fire calls and has dedicated countless hours of his time to serving the residents and community of the Township of Rochelle Park. Peter Donatello has been a volunteer of the Rochelle Park Fire Department for over 50 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved, on behalf of the Township Committee, I, Vincent Rossetti, Mayor of the Township of Rochelle Park, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, do hereby extend congratulations and best wishes to Pete on celebrating this milestone for 50 years this day, February 28, 2024.
Got through that without anybody saying no. Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you.
This time, do we have any correspondence? No correspondences. What do I have? Motion for the approval of the agenda?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Committeewoman Ortola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Pichi? Yes. And Mayor Pacetti?
Yes. Move on to the discussion. Doug Doyle, Rochelle Ave Bank Diner Property Development.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug Doyle. I'm with the Dakota's Law Firm. I'm here tonight with respect to a resolution that is before you, which does a couple things. First, it reconfirms that the area that was previously designated an area in need of redevelopment continues to be designated as an area in redevelopment. The reason why we did that study again is so that nobody could potentially challenge that designation because it was several years old. The other thing that the resolution does is it designates the current owner of the property, Rochelle Park Urban Renewal LLC, as the redeveloper of the property. This is the same developer who appeared before the planning board and obtained site plan approval to build approximately 30 rental units and approximately 8,000 to 10,000 square foot of commercial space. You may recall that in the fall, the late fall, almost before the end of last year, the planning board granted them an extension before they were going to start their construction, and I'll get to that momentarily. It also authorized the execution of an escrow agreement, a copy of which has been attached. That escrow agreement is designed to shift the burden and the expense of negotiating a developer's agreement and a potential financial agreement, which I'll get to in a moment, to the developer. So once this is adopted, the developer's already posted an escrow and signed that, and the expense associated with the discussions about the redevelopment of this site, a redevelopment agreement, and the negotiation of potential. Excuse me. I say potential because ultimately, at the end of the day, it'll be the governing body's determination as to whether a financial agreement is appropriate. Will now be paid for at the expense of the redeveloper as opposed to the taxpayer. And then finally, as I said, it authorizes the negotiation of and again, I emphasize the word potential financial agreement. Now, by way of background, everybody may recall that this property was one of the potential properties that the governing body in years past has considered as a potential location for the new municipal building. Those negotiations came to a standstill sometime in the fall because the developer at that time, Tulsa, was experiencing a lot of delays, which were in turn costing that developer a lot of money, as he's described to myself and to the chief. There continues to be an interest in that developer potentially redeveloping that site for use as a municipal building and the redevelopment of this site. But that's not before us right now, and I don't know whether that's going to ever come back. The developer is interested in pursuing that. There's two additional parties that would have to be interested in that. First and foremost, it would have to be the governing body, whether they're interested in continuing to pursue the potential use of that property. But assuming the governing body didn't want to pursue that, and assuming that the redeveloper couldn't come to an agreement with Tulsa in terms of how that would look and how that would play out, this developer nevertheless has the right to develop this property in accordance with the approvals that it's already received. And what it has said to us is, look, we want to continue to work with the municipality. If the municipality is interested in acquiring the property from us directly, I have been given a purchase price, which I don't want to share in public because that would be negotiating against ourselves. I'm not required to share that in public, but I'd be happy to share that with you in executive session at an upcoming meeting. We can have that discussion if you like. if the overall consensus of the governing body is that's not a property that we want to consider, Chief and I can have discussions with you, because we've had discussions with other developers that have scoured the town to look for other sites, and thus far, there's been no other sites that may be available. But we can have that discussion, but nevertheless, this developer has approvals to build on this site. This developer is going to make an argument that he can build on this site, he wants to build on this site, but he's going to need what we call a pilot, meaning the new taxes. My advice to you would be hire a financial advisor, an independent financial advisor, at the expense of the developer that owns this piece of property. Have that financial advisor advise you as to whether in fact the pilot is necessary. If it's not necessary, my advice to you as your development attorney is don't give them a pilot. If it is necessary, I would urge you to think hard and long about it, because the failure to give that pilot may mean that this project doesn't get built, which means it's a lost rateable opportunity. As your redevelopment council, I want to see you get the highest and best use for it in a way that's consistent with how you, as a governing body, want to see the property redeveloped. Whether that's as your future municipal building, or whether that's as a repurposed building, which is going to bring more ratables into the town, whether those ratables are straight tax ratables, or whether they're payments in lieu of taxes. We can have those discussions. But I would recommend that you authorize this resolution tonight, so that this developer, who's trying to work cooperatively with us, at least can move forward to see this building built. If for no other purpose that the negotiations with TOFRA are never going to come to fruition, or because this governing body really doesn't want to do that deal at that site, with this site, and with TOFRA. So my advice to you would be to authorize this resolution, so at least this property can be developed.
Any questions?
Mr. Doyle,
Yes.
I have a few questions. So where it has here, the parties negotiate a potential financial agreement, is that what you're talking in
Yes.
reference to a pilot?
Yes. So
Potential.
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 But you have to approve that in 2 readings within your, so.
I understand what it is.
I didn't mean to.
No, I understand. Okay, I want to understand that too. I'm understanding that from what you're saying now, from what I'm listening to, is that this was originally supposed to be, from what I see on this resolution here, is that it was supposed to be improved and provide 30 residential dwelling units, 5 of which would be set aside for low and moderate income households.
Yes.
So now you're saying, well, this could also be looked at as a municipal building. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that one of the things that we started to explore in the last year was utilizing this as a redevelopment site right here, having the potential redeveloper that was told for at the time to build us a municipal building, and have us make a financial contribution to the acquisition of the property that we're talking about tonight. So essentially, we would not lose those affordable units. I would argue maybe we'll pick up a couple of affordable units if we would do the redevelopment here, and then we would have the municipal building on that site.
Potentially.
No, that's not part of this.
Okay,
This
so
has
you're
nothing to
separate,
do with that.
you're talking about a separate, got it.
Yeah, this
Understand.
has nothing to do with that, Judge.
Okay, I'm trying to understand, so this agreement, basically, from what I have read about it and researched about it, this was agreed upon by the planning board a few times,
Yes.
going back a few years, right? It's actually on here. Was there at any time it was not approved?
Not that I'm aware, but I'm new here only a year, so this is my first 1-year anniversary. I'm not aware of that.
Okay,
But to reiterate, the only thing we're here for tonight is, let's say this, everything else fell apart. The developer said, hey, we tried to work with the town, the owner of this property said, we tried to work with the town, we'd still like to work with the town, but in the interim, as you guys are trying to figure out what you want to do, we have approvals that are going to expire. They're going to expire this fall. And they have to, according to the law, because it's a redevelopment area, they have to negotiate developers agreements, right? And they claim that they need a pilot. All those things need to be done before they can pull a permit and put a shovel in the ground. And then the last extension that they were entitled to was the one that they just got, which expires in November
Of 24.
So what they're saying is, we'll continue to discuss with you, but in the event that you can't get your act together and you don't know what you want to do, that's okay, but we want to go build our building. We want to build those 30 units with those set aside in our 10,000 square feet, which has all been approved.
So, reiterate, they're looking for a pilot to do this?
The position they've taken is that they claim they need a pilot.
Under what conditions?
Based on what they're proposing to build, based on what it's going to cost to build, based on what they believe they're going to generate in revenues from the rental market, residential, and the commercial market.
Where is that in writing? Well, they're saying they need it for a reason. Where is that in writing?
So what happens is, after this, they would file what's known as an application for consideration of financial. Designate my office, we have people that do these. We're not going to tell you whether they need the financial agreement. I would recommend, to the extent that the governing body hasn't done that, you hire an independent financial advisor. There's a number of very credible financial advisors out there that take the side of the municipality and they tell the municipality objectively, yes, they need it, no, they don't, or yes, they do, but they don't need it on those terms. They don't need, we throw these words around, a 10%.
I understand.
So, yes, they do, but they don't need that pilot. They do need something because the construction costs are expensive, the rental market is not, whatever those reasons are that I don't weigh into. Your financial advisor will be the one to tell you whether they need it.
But overall, if this committee is not interested in giving them a pilot program, if they're not, right,
Right? Nope. Totally separate application, totally separate analysis, and my guess is it's going to go on for a lot longer than I'm going to be here this evening. A lot more details, and you're going to want an independent advisor and counseling. And the reason why you want to get that counseling is because I can read about this, what I do for close to 30 years. I started in North Arlington in 1995. This is what I do. My job is to get properties redeveloped. I'm different than your planning manager, right? You got a piece of property, it's not developed, it's not producing radios, it's not bringing in what I call walking wild. It's young people to live here and shop and eat in your towns and your restaurants and use your shopfront, right? My goal is to get properties redeveloped. One of the things we have to be careful about is delivering messages to the development world out there that you're never going to be able to build that town. They're not going to give you a financial agreement. The town doesn't understand what's necessary in this market, the cost of construction, et cetera, to build, the cost of property, et cetera. That's what the independent advisor will tell you. They may tell you they don't need that. They don't need anything, it's fine. They may tell you, without this pilot they're asking for, I don't know that it gets built. I don't know that they'll get financing.
I mean, if this committee, though, is not interested in negotiating a potential financial agreement with them, why would we move this resolution forward?
Because so what you would do is, if you're not going to consider a redevelopment agreement, then you need to resign yourself to the fact, before you've heard all the facts, that they may never get built. That's what you have to resign yourself to. I would recommend that you explore it, and if after you've got the advice, you believe that they're asking for something they're not entitled to, you deny it. And you, so to speak, I don't like to do this in public, you call their bluff. You say, okay, you say you need it. Our financial advisor says you don't. Here's your redevelopment agreement, which you're entitled to, but we're not giving you a financial agreement, and then we'll see who wins first. We'll see whether you in fact allow that deadline to expire after which you have to go and apply for the approvals. So I don't think you lose anything by doing this, because I don't think you're committing to give them a pilot. I think you're committing to hear what they have to say about it. And you're putting yourself in a position that, in fact, they really do need a pilot, and your financial advisor said they really do, not one that they're looking for, but they really do need in order to get it started. If not, shut it, bring it back. That you're not prejudging the process. By the way, even if your financial advisor said to you, I think they absolutely need a pilot. One of the things about being an elected official is you could say, thank you very much, I disagree with you, you can still vote it down. Because I hear you, I looked at your analysis, I disagree.
What about the timing of this? Like, I understand that you're here to discuss this resolution, but what was your intention, not just having a discussion and providing information about this and then having this resolution come up at a later date? Why now?
Actually, because the developer got its extension, we went into a change of control. I wanted to be here in January, so, but I don't think I had been reappointed until late January.
January 24th.
Yeah.
I wanted to be here as early as I could and change it over. I didn't want to presume that you would reappoint me. Thank you for the reappointment. I appreciate your confidence in me. But I wanted to get here as soon as I could, and to tell you the truth, I wasn't here because it's Mark's fault. She told me I should go to Mount Tremblant. I took my kid when the last time.
On the 14th.
Was skiing, so I couldn't be here for the last week. Otherwise, I would have been here earlier. The reason why I'm here earlier is to the extent that you want to keep on the table the potential use of that property, and you may say, no, you don't want to use that, you want to fix up this building, that's your policy decision as an elected official. I think having that discussion sooner rather than later is better, because the developer who's looking to build this building, who's got an expiration in which he can go pull permits and put a spade in the ground, is going to be over in 9 months. In the political world, we discovered 9 months kind of goes by in a flash. So I would urge you to kind of come together, we can have subcommittee meetings and talk about where you want to go. And I would recommend you do that simultaneously with allowing this developer to move forward and build that in the event everybody decides we don't want to build there.
How about the rest of the members of this?
How do you
committee?
feel about this? Anybody else have a question?
But this time we're not losing nothing by agreeing, and we could always get out of it. So, I like to grant the extension, in the fact that gives the opportunity down the road to look at other options. If we cut them off now,
So if we don't approve this tonight, what you're basically telling the developer is you can't build. My guess is he'll probably file a lawsuit claiming that he's the owner of the property, he's entitled to the development agreement, there's a plan, so we're gonna get ourselves in a hole. That's how we don't need to get into. With respect to the financial agreement, you're not committing to any financial agreement. There's no financial agreement before you. There's no application, right? And you can negotiate that. Your financial advisor could recommend that to you, and you could also say, I know we recommend it, we're still not going to do it. We're still not going to provide those incentives because we disagree and we don't think it's necessary. Whether the project gets built, well, that'll be ultimately up to the developer. So I don't think you're losing anything by doing this, and I think you're also showing goodwill to somebody that tried to negotiate the potential use of that property, and you're willing to continue to negotiate to have us buy that property from you during this period of time.
part of the delay was with good faith, he was entertaining us being moved from here to
Yes.
there. So
Yes.
that was the only delay, and whatever it fell through, or whatever reasons,
Yep.
that's the only reason it was a delay. And in good faith, he's still willing to, if we venture down that road, but at this time, we can say no anytime we want.
He's running out of time, which is, look, I want to work with you, I bought property in town, I want to be a good taxpayer, I want to be a good property owner, but I invest in this property, I've been paying taxes, I got approvals, I spent a lot of money to get approvals, I want to know that if everything falls apart, which is okay, I can still build my project.
If I may, Mayor? Mr. Doyle, sir. If there were to be negotiations for a financial agreement, it's just that, correct? Once their financial advisor advises them, it's not just A and B, right? The developer.
It's a complete negotiation. They're going to say they want, the sun, the moon, and the stars, I'm not going to put anything.
Of course.
And we're going to say you're not entitled to the sun, you're not entitled to the moon, and you're not entitled to the stars. You may be entitled to one or two of these little stars here, our financial agreement. The financial agreement, or the financial advisor could come back and say, I don't think they need anything. I think based on the strength of this market, I don't think they need anything. But whatever that is, A, you don't have to agree with it, and B, you can vote it down.
Yeah.
There will be a public, may I answer that?
You can, if you want to choose.
Wait, one second, because I'm a little confused here, because who's he, first of all? Who is he, the developer? What's his name?
Oh, the developer's right here. It's called, it's Mr. Goldschmidt is the one that I historically deal with. and his agent, which is Robert McNerney. But, and they're in the audience tonight. But the name of the entity is, it's called an urban renewal entity. It has to be an urban renewal entity. The name of the entity is Rochelle Park Urban Renewal LLC. That's the name of the property owner that owns and is going to be the redeveloper of what we call the Bank right now.
So he's the property owner, and he wants to also be the redeveloper.
Yeah, he wants to be designated as the redeveloper, which he's entitled to because he owns the property and he's got all the approvals.
Okay, so, you know, I'm going back a little bit because I'm looking at all the years it was approved. And I'd like to know, I see somebody here from the planning board that's probably been there for a while. And I know the categories that can fall into for redevelopment. And it was approved many times. And one of the reasons.
Twice I know.
Right, but I'm actually looking at this, and it also says it has exhibits here. I don't see any exhibits either. It says Exhibit A, and I don't see that here either. So, site plan approval, preliminary, final, major site plans, and everything. I see all this, and I understand what you're saying about it. With that being said, was it at the time when it was approved for this under the planning board, was this addition there on the planning board where it has the parties negotiate potential financial agreement? Was it ever mentioned? I don't know.
That wouldn't be there. So the answer to that is, I don't know the answer to that because I wasn't there.
Right.
That would not be the planning board's jurisdiction. They have no right to make a determination about the grant or denial of a land use application based on the request for a pilot. That's not, only you can control whether a pilot should be given. So if they want to go.
Well, that's not, Mr. Doyle, I'm going to disagree with you on that because even when you say that only we can control a pilot,
Right.
so can the courts make a decision on that too, or developer. If it goes to court, a judge could say, in good faith negotiations, you need to do this pilot, right?
Now, under a fairly negotiated, I think what you're saying is, under a builder's remedy suit, which this is not, they just come here, they've got their approvals. Under a builder's remedy suit, they could go to court and they would have to make an argument that we've got a project, it's going to provide affordable housing, and we can build it, but for the arbitrary, capricious, and unreasonable position the governing body is taking as to the financial agreement. We say pilot district, but it's called a financial.
Interesting.
I think they could do that.
They could do that. Is that what you just said?
I think they could do that if they brought a builder's remedy suit.
Right.
But this is not the subject of a builder's remedy suit. There is no builder's remedy suit. I'm not your affordable housing attorney, but I think you satisfied all of your affordable housing requirements. Do you have a judgment of proposals? No?
So, before we open up to the public, there isn't I'm sensing like this abrupt pressure to pass this tonight, but that's not necessary to pass it tonight.
Well, I guess my question would be, if you're not committing to do one of the things in there, there's no harm in approving it tonight. Because you can make the decision right now. You can say this, Councilman, I'm not going to hear any of the facts. I don't care about anything. I'm never granting a pilot. As an elected official, I'm taking a public policy position. I'm never going to do that. But I understand the developer has got approvals to build, wants to move forward, and I'm okay with that. But I just want to make it clear, as I'm voting for this tonight, you can negotiate, but when it comes before me, I'm never, ever going to approve a pilot. I think you can get to the same place if that's a position that you or the whole governing body wants to take. We're happy to have those discussions. You can present that stuff. You can spend your financial advisor's money, our financial advisor's money, but we're telling you, we're never going to agree that at the end of the day. But we still need a developer's agreement. We still need to know how they're going to build, when they're going to build, that in fact they're going to post whatever bonds are necessary, they're going to complete with X amount of years, they're going to do the things that are necessary with respect to, guarding the property, access, etc., which is what's embodied in this case.
Yes.
have the phone near the microphone?
It sounds like a phone.
Okay.
Is there, or anything like that, harm or foul into holding off and discussing this further within the council?
So, I mean, are you asking me,
I
Councilman?
am.
I think that the better response is, I mean, this is Doug's area, and he's the specialist. From my perspective, I don't know what the timing issues are on with regard to the developer side. I know that there were expirations, but the expirations that I think that Mr. Doyle mentioned, there is not until November.
Right.
Is that correct,
Correct.
Councilman?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there is a need for this public body to ask questions of Mr. Doyle that they feel are more appropriate in closed session, I think that that might not be a bad idea, because if there are issues that hinder on things that should be or more appropriate for closed session, I think that that's appropriate. I don't know if you want to do that tonight. I don't know what Mr. Doyle's schedule is, and then maybe you could ask more poignant questions that are more appropriate for close and make a decision if this is something that you want to table at that point. That may be my suggestion, if that answers your
That's
question.
a fair suggestion, thank you, I appreciate that. Did you want to open it to the public?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to open it to the public right now.
Look, did you have a comment first up regarding that? Did they say,
Look, you have to go at the pace that you feel comfortable.
oh, they had a,
No, the only thing I'm gonna tell you is it's gonna take a little time to negotiate and redevelop. So that would be the only thing I would do.
they had a comment in regards to public portion, somebody asked, he said if you had to say something. Could you hang out the public portion, or are you leaving soon, or we have to do this right now?
It's really up to you.
It's up to you, you have time to go, or can you wait to the public portion of the meeting?
No,
Did you guys hold up in a closed session?
I think the
Well, I would
delay
ask-
was about closed
I would
session,
ask
not
Mr.
about.
No, just public portion for public comment.
Yeah.
I would ask Mr. Doyle if he's available to stay the rest of the day
Yeah.
and be in closed session to the extent that the body has questions for you, if that's, because I know that we weren't planning on that, if you have time for that, Mr. Doyle,
Yeah,
to be in a closed session. And you guys can open it now to the public, you could have two sessions.
I
Yeah,
think you could open it to the public.
it's up to
Let's
you
just
guys
open
to
to the
open
public.
it.
Yeah.
You could do that. It's up to the body if you want to open up to public now. It's
So,
up to you.
so
I want to make a motion, to open
I'll
up.
motion it to open the public.
I'll second.
Right, and this is for just this topic?
Just this
Yes,
topic.
yes.
Correct.
So,
Committeewoman Rochelle,
yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello.
Yes.
Committeeman Miller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy. Yes. And Mayor Becerra.
Yes. Open up for public portion, everybody want to come up in regards to this matter only?
Hi, good evening. My name's Ed Kadusky, 6 Lincoln Avenue, Rochelle Park, Township resident. I have a couple of questions. I hope I can get them in my allotted 3 minutes. We're still tying us down of that. I wasn't going to ask the tough question, but it was suggested by something you people had asked, so I'll ask it right now. You don't have to answer it. You consider it. Suppose tonight you turn this down as it is. I believe, or I would have a question as to whether or not that project would actually be buildable. It seems to me that they have, if you do nothing on the redevelopment this evening, they have in place from the board approvals the ability to build on a project without doing anything further. The redevelopment is kind of the icing on the cake. So I'd ask you to consider that. Second thing, let me address the particular resolution. A couple of technical things. The resolution says that there's an Exhibit B attached, which is illegal, which I didn't see. And then importantly, it says there's an escrow agreement attached, which is Exhibit A, which Mr. Doyle referenced. I looked at the public records and what you posted, and I didn't find Exhibit A attached. So I would have the question whether you can actually act on this, because what you presented to the public was not actually disclosed, number one. And number two, the second question is whether anybody actually has seen that exhibit and read it. Second thing is, third thing, all right, I lose track. It happens when you get old. All right, the next item I've got is I would like to see you consider who the real party in interest is. When these deals have come in, they've all come in what in a manner of speaking could be called a shell corporation, so you don't know who you're dealing with. When this project started, it was originally the bank that came in, which I think was SB1, which in the middle of negotiations changed hands and I think became Provident, and then they became somebody else. So these companies seem to keep changing. I think it's essential that you know who you're dealing with when you're dealing with an LLC, and they're not somebody that is not who you dealt with or that is not financially qualified. I'd suggest to you, you do not want to be the next Asbury Park. Asbury Park. Back in the 80s, Asbury Park designated a developer. It was a shell company. They went bankrupt. Project was tied up for 20 years. So Asbury Park was a wreck because they dealt with a shell company. They didn't know who they were dealing with. The company, I believe, filed a bankruptcy and the project was stalled in perpetuity. They were finally able to do that. So I would suggest that you find out who the principals are in the company and what their interests are. I take a further and more aggressive stance in that you make the contract essentially non-assignable so that they don't do what the home buyers do. You all got your calls, we'll buy your house for cash. Well, they buy a house, sign you up, and then they flip the contract to somebody else. So one of the things I'd suggest is that your contract should be non-assignable so that when you sign the paper with somebody, that's the person you deal with. The other thing I'd like to suggest, if you're considering doing a pilot agreement, is that you gather adequate information. Hopefully, one of the financial advisors that Mr. Doyle's recommended will be able to do that. I would also like to suggest that you will have to begin dealing with what we all know in this town is a gigantic campaign of misinformation. Whenever you see your advisors come in or public hearings come in, by that time, somebody sent out postcards. They probably had friendly parties posting on internet sites saying that, no, it's 3 times better to do a pilot deal than to not do a pilot deal. So I think you have to make sure that you get very good financial information and be in the position to deal with that, which what will probably be, I don't say this developer, but other developers will do a campaign of information, telling their own side. And I would also like to suggest that you consider, if you decide to do something in the nature of a pilot contract, let me quickly address that point. I have no recollection of this developer requesting a pilot during any of the meetings that I sat in. In fact, quite to the contrary, they were a little bit hesitant on the pilot. They said they could do the deal, and as I recall, and I'd have to go back at the record, they were somewhat a little bit wishy-washy, maybe yes, maybe no on the pilot. So that wasn't disclosed, and now it appears they may want one. But having said that, when the pilots are pitched to you, it's usually pitched on the basis of things are really tough. We just can't get this deal done. And it's really hard to do. Costs have gone up. You know how much construction's gone up and so on and so forth. You can't run apartments. I will accept that as complete truth. It is difficult to do that. The developers are right. Times are tough. They can't make any money. So my solution is pretty simple. Since they're not making any money, in the event that they do make money, you consider putting on a recapture clause. Some of the people who have built large storage buildings in town, who've told you how tough times were, have later appeared in the trade press saying, and by the way, we sold 3 buildings for $60 million. So my suggestion would be, since nobody's making any money on this deal and they're not giving anything up, put in a recapture clause so that in the event that they make a profit on the sale, some of the money comes back to the public. Again, I'd like to see you consider that. I think it would be important to take some money back from the public instead of having to wait on the IFCOM for I don't know how many years it'll take before you actually break even on that. Final comment, final 3 comments, 2 comments? Finally, last of my too many comments. I think I'd like to get an update personally on where we stand with the Tulsa deals, because there was a concern by the board members that when those projects they came in, they were although they were presented separately, we voted separately. The sense of the board, I think, was that we viewed them as all or one. We'd like to see all of the projects done simply because we don't want somebody skimming the cream. You know, maybe it makes money on the bank, they make money over there, but oh God, we're not done in municipal building because that's a loser. So I think it's an integral part of the project to find out where the other projects stand. and, you know, what Telfer's interest is in this. Finally, and now, for the bad news, there's a new affordable housing law which is rolling around Trenton. I don't know what the status is, but you may want to put that in the back of your heads to consider that. The talk is that they almost jammed it through in the session around New Year's. I guess they call it the lame duck session, but they got caught. Supposedly what it will do is bring as many as 200,000 new affordable housing units into New Jersey because we need them. But remember, it's funny math that they do. Because the 220,000 units are set aside, you're basically talking to billions more units. So you may have something coming down the road. It may very well change what your affordable housing requirements are. So you may want to consider that. So that's all. I mean, I think this project, as I have seen it, and it'll sound like the opposite of what I've just said. If they do what they said, I think it's a good project. They started with it years ago. They came to us. Going to be some redevelopment. There'll be some affordable housing units and some retail. The board that I sit on looked at it several times. We're okay with it. I think the original project is good. Pilot's going to be up to you to consider. And my other concerns are, as I said, at least I don't want to see it flipped to somebody and we get stuck with something that we didn't want. So thank you very much for your time. If I've run over my 3 minutes, so be it. Okay.
Yep. Thank you. And go ahead.
So, many of the issues that he's identified are resolved in the form of a redevelopment. He's concerned about who the ownership is. The redevelopment agreement, they're required in an exhibit to identify everybody with a greater interest greater than 10%. In addition, the redevelopment agreement has specific provisions that don't allow the flipping unless it's approved by the governing body, and the governing body gets a chance to see who the redeveloper is. So I think you can't move forward and you can't protect the governing body, the municipality, and the taxpayers without a redevelopment. We need the resolution to authorize me to go negotiate the developer's agreement at the developer's expense. With respect to the exhibits, I went over them, and in fact, they were here, at least the exhibit with respect to the escrow agreement, which is a standard escrow agreement. They got to pay for all the professionals' costs, etc. He mentioned something about affordable housing. This project is, whatever the affordable housing obligations are, they've got to approve this. The only issue is whether we want to try to delay this to the point that they will not be able to go and get hold their permits and get what they need, which will probably result in, I think what the judge was alluding to before, they're going to run the court at some point and say, we can't proceed without a developer's agreement, because the redeveloper's agreement, because the law says we're supposed to have one. We can't get them to authorize us to negotiate one. I don't think they can ever force you to do a financial agreement, because this isn't a builder's remedy suit. I don't know that we need these units in order to satisfy our affordable housing obligation. They haven't done that yet. Could they, Judge, to your point, could they add that on?
Mr. Doyle, I just want to say, judge is my name. I'm not a municipal court judge.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's my name. I know you keep calling me judge, but I appreciate it. I get it all the time.
I'm so sorry.
No worries.
But we're supposed to always use that when your name is judge.
No, I get it all the time, but I just want to correct the statement on that, but that is my name. So, Councilwoman, that's great. Thank you.
Councilwoman. I didn't know which one you used first, but I'm like.
No, that's fine.
I think judges, right, Mark? I think judges higher than so. I went with the higher one.
I appreciate that, but that's my name. Thank you.
Purely out of respect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So my advice is, I don't think you're committed to a pilot tonight. In fact, I think you can vote for this and say, hey, I want to move forward. I want to do the developers agreement. I want to know who the owners are. I want to make sure they're going to build this. I want to make sure they're going to build it in a timely manner. I want to make sure I know that they can't flip it, but I'm telling you right now, I'm never going to vote for a financial agreement. I don't care what you show me. If that's your position, and that's a position that you need to take, because it's a policy decision you believe strongly in, I don't want to discourage you from taking that position. Whether at the end of the day that means that there's not going to be enough votes to approve a pilot, that means that the project will never get built, I don't think we're near there. We don't have enough information yet. They haven't provided the financial information. So I don't think we're even close to that. But hopefully I answered most of the chairman's question. I think I had that time.
Anybody else?
Diane Verhassel, Forest Place. Couple things. First, since they first applied to the planning, they've had their agreement amended again and again and again and again. And each time they could have started building, but they chose to not do anything.
No, not true.
Well-
What they chose to do is they chose to wait and negotiate
Well, what,
for the benefit of the municipality that was interested, at least in the previous administration, I'm not speaking about this administration, in potentially using that property for a municipal building.
that was just recently. They applied to the planning board long before that was ever brought up.
They did, and then the pandemic hit, and that's all set forth in the resolution.
And when it was done on Zoom, the lawyer at the time for them, I don't know if she's still the lawyer, was asked, are you looking for a pilot? And she specifically said, no.
Correct.
So whatever changed,
So let me respond.
wait, can I just finish? I just
Of
want to finish.
course,
Okay.
sorry.
I don't know what you consider flipping, but a perfect example to me, is it when you build something and then sell it to somebody else right away? Or is it while you're building?
Well,
Because,
usually what, so we can't control what people do with their property after they get what's called a certificate of completion. Once the property's built, everybody has a right to sell their property. During, to your point, during the redevelopment process, when everything's being built, they don't have a final CFO, we can control that and say, no, you're not doing it.
because an example is across the street, they got a pilot for several buildings, or several projects, I'll call it that. The storage unit was not totally rented. I don't even know if it still is, but it immediately got sold to somebody else. They made a very nice profit. But just an example. Now, I just have a couple questions for you. The municipal building, there were problems when it was presented to this town because there was no senior center, no library. Beautiful police area, a lot of extras that they don't have now, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have a police center, but this municipal building was not getting replaced because a lot of what's in here for all the residents was not included in that, and that's why that also did not get passed. I just want you to be aware of that. Another thing, we kept hearing about the state is going to do, probably county state, the redevelopment of Rochelle Ave and Central Ave. When they presented this project, one of the main concerns was the turning of buses from Rochelle Ave onto Central. That came before the planning board, there were a lot of discussions about it, et cetera. If the state comes in and buys property, which is what we've been hearing might happen, on Rochelle Ave and on Central, because it's part of the plans includes an exit onto Central Ave from 17, then this entire project will be different, or we might get involved in, oh, the state was going to buy the land, but now we have a developer, et cetera, back and forth. That could be a question. Mr. McNerney, does he work for the town? Because I thought he did. Does he? Do we know? Okay, so I have a concern that somebody who works for the town is also now the current owner of property that would negotiate. Well, it's still, to me,
It's the same person. Is that what you're saying? It is the same person. Do you have the full name for Mr. McGuire?
but he's still, he's involved with the project, and he also works for the town, which to me is just too bad. Well, it's a conflict to me. I'm just saying to me personally. And the other thing I just want to say, I didn't like how you kept saying they can't get their act together. You had said the township committee can't get their act together. Those were your words. You did say that. And whatever they decide to do or not do, wait, hold on. Well, you said it. That's not how. Well, sounded like you did, then that's all I can say. Okay, and all I want to say is that if they bought the property, how, the recent owner, when did they buy it? Because online, it says 10 months. So, well, then the online documents are wrong. I'm just, same way you said different people have owned it, I questioned exactly what you brought up. Was Tulsa a urban renewal person? Because they did across the street. I'm just asking if they were. Okay, so I guess we just never heard that it wasn't, but we've had I'm just saying the community's had a lot of problems with the pilot until they're fully, until they fully rent something, until they fully rent it out, you only get a percent. And if they don't fully rent it out, we're not getting it. Well, I'm just saying, we didn't have it. Well, I'm just concerned, like I said, I saw the site plans they had, and it was right up, stores, it was a multi-use. Stores on the bottom, apartments above. They had to be told they couldn't put all the affordable housing on one floor because they tried to do that. There was a lot of stuff. Excuse me, and all I want to say is that if the state is going to buy that property or want to buy it, I think we're setting up a problem because now we've agreed to this developer he can build. The state's going to want to buy. We hear they might want to do the post office and make that street straight, whether they do or not. I think we're setting ourselves up for concern when the state would have bought this, or would have bought that, and now we're in agreement with the developer. It's just something I'm concerned about.
Mr. Doyle, all approval for the roadway, have to go to the town, county roadway. The firefighter building, they will have to seek the approval of building.
Question about the affordable housing. But according to what I'm reading now, they're going to make it, oh, sorry, Linda Boniface, 33 Parkway, ex-councilwoman, just put it out there. So they say, what I was reading, they're going to, those laws are going to make it harder for a builder's revenue lawsuit. They're going to make it harder. I'm just, okay, yeah, it's not done. Yeah. Yeah, right. That's okay. I want to know why Oak Street could be built without a pilot. Why Terrace Ave can be built without a pilot. So maybe that developer should buy that property there because he can build without a. No, I know. What I don't like is it's shoved on the agenda today at the public meeting. When did you know about this? Was it, you could just say discussed in closed session. When did you know?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm asking the whole committee.
I personally saw this, Monday, when I got the agenda.
Monday night.
When did you find out?
Friday.
What?
Friday, I heard about it, and the memory of
Yeah.
I was told at the same time that it.
How come you mentioned it at a rec meeting that there was a developer? Yeah, when they were questioning building the rec center over there. How come you knew?
I didn't know anything.
So in other words, this is another thing shoved on. When did the township committee give you permission to go talk to the developer?
I don't think it's shoved
No.
on.
Yeah, it is. They didn't know anything about it.
I think it's the ordinary course of business, right? So
No, they're the governing body. They should know what's going on.
you want to know,
I was on the township committee last year. I never heard anything about this. The last thing I heard was about the municipal building. Well, let's put it that way, minus the,
I got the resolution sometime.
and who directed you to do that? But who told you? Who told you this is going on?
Well, nothing goes on election. I don't know if it's not, you put something on. You did the study, you authorized to do the study. The study, we confirmed the area net, we already need to do that. Right? They go along two parallel lines. There's this developer, and then there's Colton out there trying to, right? Trying to go along these paths. Colton falls off sometime in September, October. The election takes place. A change in government takes place. I'm told as a result of the change in government, the party gets to have the newly elected people have an opportunity to learn about this and be involved. So it doesn't look like we're trying to shove this in under lame duck session, right? So that's it. I wanted this on as soon as possible in January because I want to see this property get built. I want to see it get built because the planning board's approved the people. And what they're going to do housing units. The parties are going to look to negotiate another deal for the municipal building. I want to see a project get built. The planning board approved it. They granted extension. They tried to work with us. I'm not saying we should give it a I'm not saying we should entertain it. What I'm saying is, the reason why it got on, I would have put this on earlier because it's a change to the bill. And I thought newly elected individuals, especially with the chief, should have an opportunity.
The chief is director, what do you do? The township administrator shall be appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the township committee. In all of his duties and responsibilities herein described, he shall serve under the direction of the township committee. So who directed you to go talk to this developer?
I've never spoken to this about it. I've never had one conversation with him about this. Mr. Doyle, our redevelopment council, sent me this resolution because we need to get this on the agenda. Here we are.
So you talked to this developer that they want to do this now. They went for it straight out.
Then they patiently waited as we tried to negotiate to see if we could put our municipal building in. I think a lot of people are trying to create conspiracies.
No, there is conspiracies here. Believe me, I sat on that day. I know what goes on here.
If that were true, then Tulper would be back here having a negotiation. I'm here to tell you that it doesn't look like that's going to get done, right? I'm also here to tell you that this same developer is willing to sell you the building so you can build your own municipal building there. But in the interim, they've gotten approval. They wanted to build their building, and none of this comes to fruition.
Hi, I'm Michael Warren, 181 West Older Street. I've been a resident now for just about 9 years. I've been taking notes in the back because I got to know how you got this on the agenda for tonight.
I asked for it
because I've lived here for 9 years and I've been asking for 2 things to be passed by the Township Committee for probably one of them for over a year and one of them probably in the past 6 months. And every time I speak to you guys as individuals, most of you guys up there who will speak to me, you all tell me you want the things I am asking you to vote on and put on the agenda and pass. But yet no action. I'm a resident here. I pay taxes here. And when I speak to you all individually, Michael, I support it. Michael, I support it. Dean, you're the only one who doesn't support it when I speak to you about it. Shade Tree Commission and the Complete Streets. You're still working on it, but not working on this. This has to be voted on tonight. When real Americans like myself want to know why the decks are always stacked against them, when the wealthy developer, this is my time, when the wealthy developer who creates an LLC that I can create with $50 as well if I go online, hires slick, high-priced lawyers to hustle for you guys to vote on something in their best interest. Mr. Kanuski is correct. You guys serve for us. I know this is a tough spot, but I have This guy's hustling you for the past hour to vote on
I
this.
represent the municipality. I'm not hustling my own client. I'm telling my client, if you'd like to go and have this project be built, I recommend you authorize the negotiated developers agreement. If you'd like to not have a pilot, then say, I'm gonna authorize the negotiated developers agreement, because you have to, because we wanna make sure that you can't flip the property, we wanna make sure it does it in a timely manner, and just don't vote for the pilot, which is fine. But you have to move forward, you designated a new owner. There are certain things that property owners like yourself have rights to. I'm just being.
I don't feel like I have any rights in this right now, just because they seem to have to vote on something that they got 2 days ago. I don't see how that's in my best interest as a resident. So that's all I'm going to say. That's my final comment till the public portion. Thank you.
Anybody else in the public portion? Any final comments?
Okay, Mr. Doyle, I'm sorry, but I'm looking back and I looked at this resolution, and I have to listen to Mr. Kaminsky was saying it's gone on for a while. This shows to me was originally adopted as a redevelopment plan July of 14th of 2014. So what you had said was, it's sold to this person, sold to that person, sold to that person. And I understand what you're saying. But to be quite honest with the rest of the committee here, I personally think I need more information on this. I have not seen Exhibit A. I don't know what any escrow is. And of course, you said you don't want to get that publicly.
No, I didn't.
No, the number.
They have, it's part of what the package is up to.
Wait, you just said you don't want to say it publicly, right? The amount?
No, I don't want to say the amount publicly that the same property owner offered to sell it to us.
So that, I'm sorry, you're right, you said that, okay. So, just stepping back, it is a lot of moving parts, and to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm new on this committee, and I know past history, don't get me wrong, but I really would like to know a little bit more and have a couple more questions, and I think the mayor had said something back, or council had said that we could have a closed session on some of this, correct? Can we absolutely do something like that and hold off? Because I do see it says by November, and I understand that when you say they don't want to flip it, I'm not quite sure what that means, but we want to make sure they don't flip it. Is that what you said
That
before?
is a common concern.
Okay.
People have.
Okay,
They
because,
want approval, they get a pilot in place, which you may never grant,
right,
and they flip it. The redevelopers agreement does not permit that.
see, these are some things that I think we need to talk about.
I think, just remember one thing.
Yeah.
You're not signing off on the development. You're gonna get a chance to see that program. This is just authorizing me to do that, which they're
To do
absolutely.
what, Mr. Doyle, to do what, exactly?
Negotiating development.
So, here we go again, we're back to developing, the development agreement.
No, they have the right to develop it.
You can buy anything and build it, and I think it was brought up, there are other places that, didn't need a pilot to build stuff.
You're not gonna give them a pilot.
Don't put words in my mouth, Mr. Doyle. I'm just trying to get a couple points across here. I think that because I need to know more information on it, and I think that it would only be fair for discussion. And I actually just saw this, when I got it on Monday. And, I don't think there's any harm to do that, Council, is there, or Mayor? What do you think? I mean, I think that before we make anything about it, that we have the right to say, wait a second, let's get more. Some people have been here long enough and been on the planning board, maybe know more than what we know, and that could be helpful too. Right? That's just my opinion.
I appreciate you coming here tonight and talking about this, but I don't think that there's any pressure on us to vote yes on this tonight. So I think we can definitely table it and have more discussion.
So, set aside, I'll come early if you want to come early, you can ask whatever questions. You just saw this, and now you can go back and whatever was questions.
You have to absorb a couple of things, because I wrote down a couple of the notes that you're saying, and I have to really research this.
My phone number, so you can call me.
No, wait, March 13th, don't we have training?
At 6 o'clock,
Yes.
so we might have to do it
It would have
after.
to be after the
Closed
meeting.
session would have to be after, but yeah, we can meet
So
that.
everybody, where I don't want to find ourselves is that we get to the March 13th meeting, and people have more time to think, and then we still have, so I would rather we figure out all those questions, and we take all the time we need, and then hopefully I'll answer all those questions. You can also, there's nothing that prevents you from calling me offline. You may get those questions answered, and I'll take the calls in the office.
I think that's fair. I don't know the rest of the council. Do you think that's fair?
We'll go to the 13th meeting.
Yeah.
A lot of people have questions.
So what are we gonna pull that?
You guys can make it, yeah, you can make, someone can make a motion to the March 13th meeting. Yeah, any motion from the floor?
I so motion that.
I'll second.
Committeewoman Otello?
Yes, for discussion in closed session and table.
Committeewoman Judge Favela?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Petrie? Yes. And Mayor Pacetta?
Yep. Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And, would you make sure everybody has my number so that you call me?
Will do.
I want to make sure everybody calls me. Make sure it's around everybody.
Move on to the discussion for Matthews Field 2024 Bergen County open space grant proposal.
So, yes, thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to bring this committee up to speed prior to making application for the Bergen County Open Space 2024 period. Did a walk of the site of Matthews Field. Our JIP has been writing us up for an unsafe playground area, the surface, having basically sinkholes, and the curbing has expanded over the years, making rendering of some portions unsafe. So we looked at that. We looked at also a lot of the field has been washing away, left and center field. We've lost some soil and grass. And basically working with Boswell again and applying for an open space grant. They give me a preliminary engineer's estimate that's coming in around $430,000. The highest I've gotten an open space grant was the most current one that we're going to approve tonight for 2023 was $197,000. And I know we talked about upgrading again modular block retaining wall on the left field. Third baseline is the bill of payment is falling away. That's why some of the soil from the field level is washing away. All of the chain link fencing is rusted, falling apart, held together with wire that the DPW has been able to do. So that would all be replaced. The chain link fence around the entire perimeter of the property is part of this. The batting tunnel has fallen in. The fencing metal has completely rusted and collapsed upon itself. So that's part of it, as well as extending the sidewalk and creating ADA compliant ramping both onto the field by the man gate, as I call it, the pedestrian gate, just to the left of home, or just to the left field side of home plate, as well as the service gate area would be ADA compliant. And then replacing the entire playground safety surface and using a concrete edging rather than the rubber, which is spread and moved because it's not concrete. It's probably the most expensive part of this, and that comes in at about $153,000. And that Dave Brown had actually sought his own estimate from somebody that came in about $156,000. So again, I just wanted to bring it to this committee prior to making application. If there's something that you don't think we should do, or you want me to reduce the cost of that, or the approximate the engineer's estimate from $430,000 down, let me know and I will do that. And we're also adding a new swing set to the playground. Again, that area has not been upgraded in many years, and we spent a lot of time and money down at Carlock Field, but the south side of town, that playground is accessible to the residents that live over there pretty much 24/7. So we wanted to expand that play area as well. So again, I bring this to you. We will add some lolly columns to protect the electrical box that was put into the lighting system. Add some more trash receptacles throughout the facility, permanent, added into like a concrete pad so that they're not blowing around. And that's part of this project. And again, I want to make application and wanted to bring that estimate to your information.
Okay, so I did walk Matthews Field, and I did reach out to Administrator Pinto about a couple of things I saw, which were the waste details that she mentioned, there's only two. I think there needs to be more. I looked at the ADA regulations to get onto the field, and I think I spoke to you about that.
Correct.
The walkway was a little bit off. I called them bollards, you called them.
Lolly columns, bollards, they're all the same,
Because if you
protected.
actually go down, I don't want to get any, but if you actually go down Lexington, and you can just keep going. And I'd like to have, if possible, look into having, protection so you can't go through, hitting not only the electrical, but go through the fence and be on the field. Because there's nothing that I can see, there's nothing that can stop a car or whatever going through that. I might be wrong, but I'm not the engineer. And also, there's two benches besides the bleachers. I know one of the bleachers wasn't in the greatest shape, right? The one that's not. Sorry?
The center field one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we plan on removing those.
Those are being taken off. But there's only two benches, and there's one facing the field and one facing the playground. I don't know if it's possible to get maybe another bench or so that, somehow work that way. It's only a suggestion, the rest, everybody can, talk about it. So that's what I saw.
Administrator's report. All right, so moving on, Harvey Avenue update. We are finalizing those plans and getting ready to go out to bid for that. And again, that's coming through with a $271,000 grant from the NJ DOT. But speaking of trees, recently I actually implored Boswell Engineering to make tree replantment a part of that project because our town's arborist came forward and through Dave Brown told us at least 14 trees had to be removed. Different diseases, different types of problems. But we're going to replant 30 trees as part of that project. And basically it would be 2 serviceberry trees and then 1 cherry tree, which allows for 2 white flowering trees and then 1 pink, and they would be repeated along the roadway. So again, it adds just a little bit of cost, but while we're bonding for that much money, we might as well add it and get it done the right way the one time. Dorothy, Gertrude, and Pleasant, the work has started up there. 7 seepage pits are being put in. I've confirmed with Boswell that gravity will do its job. The water will seep down, not towards the residents' homes. It's a good 50 to 100 feet away from the residents. It'll actually help with the water that was running off of the street onto people's property from happening, because at least it'll be collected within the seepage pits. So those 7 seepage pits are being installed. I asked why, what the cost for piping would be to run storm drains. We're looking at least between $500,000 and $600,000 would have been added to that project. Again, not cost effective, and the seepage pits are going to do their job. So, also, we'll have deputy clerk's position interviews. We have 7 applicants that we'll be interviewing. When I say we, it's going to be the acting clerk and myself, scheduled for next Monday and Tuesday. And lastly, I met with the administrator from Maywood yesterday, and his camp liaison in reference to their summer, and I don't want to call it day camp because really they're not certified camps, but it's, their summer aftercare or before care, what we refer to as our summer camp and day camp. They basically don't want to have it located in Maywood anymore. It's an unsafe situation they have because of the parking lot that the children have to walk within. It's a cut through. So they were asking that we open up our camp, which we've allowed out of towners, but basically would be open to Maywood and Rochelle Park residents. I have some notes that I took. What they would be offering us is access to the Maywood pool Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays. Our children would be dropped, our Rochelle Park children, and Maywood for that matter, would be dropped off at the pool those days. They open up at 8:30 a.m. and when they're done swimming, the Maywood Board of Ed has bought buses that the township has access to as part of a shared service agreement, and they would bus all of the children back to camp here in Rochelle Park, and that would include the Maywood people who sign up. Different cost. Maywood was, anywhere between $1,300 to $1,500 for 8 weeks of camp. Rochelle Park's price was a little less, but since we'd be running the camp, we'd have to figure out what our pricing is going to be. And I know our recreation director, I saw him walk in, so if I missed something, Mark, or you want to jump in, let me know. We would hope they would share. We have our application open for camp director, summer camp director. We haven't received any applicants yet. I'm going to say it's probably due to the $12.50 an hour that we're paying. I don't even know if that's minimum wage, but when you break the stipend down over 8 weeks and over the hours required, I don't think there's any certified teacher that wants to work that little when they can go teach children on the side and make probably double that. So maybe with the increased cost to the campers. We could pass that on as far as salaries, and maybe Maywood would be willing to at least let those applicants know that they were reaching out to or had that Rochelle Park's looking at. Maybe we could find ourselves a director as well. They had about 65 to 80 campers last year, Maywood did. Trying to think what else I have in my notes. And again, our concern too with walking our children, we say we walk along Rochelle Avenue, we walk from Carlock Field up Chestnut to Rochelle, or to however you get to Brooks to Forest, Chestnut to Rochelle Avenue, and down Lops Lane. As we know, it's probably not the safest route to be walking children. That's not what it was in the 1970s, 80s, or 90s for that matter. This would eliminate that. They would also ran several trips. They also have a relationship with Viola Water comes in, does a presentation. They have a relationship with the Bergen County Zoo. Again, those buses would come in handy where we could transport our children that are participants in our camp to do some of these trips, as well as she has a recycling, Bergen County Utilities Authority comes out and does a whole recycling informational session with the children, as well as provides things that they can paint and do arts and crafts with. Am I missing anything more?
Our biggest, good evening, everybody. Sorry. Our biggest concern is, I'm sorry, Mark Azzolino, Recreation Director. My biggest concern is the walking from Carlock to the pool. I feel that it's just not safe anymore. We have young counselors. It's very difficult to keep an eye on all these kids running all over the place. Maywood, to even propose it to us, we had to have the buses on board. That was right off the bat. So if we weren't going to get the buses, it wasn't even going to be discussed. That's their biggest push. Maywood does not want to hold camp anymore, but they're offering their pool 4 days a week instead of 3 days a week, which is our pool. And we're extending hours, so we'll be dropped off at 8 o'clock in the morning, between 8 and 8:30. They'll be getting picked up between 11:30, 12 o'clock, come back to Carlock. Basically, Carlock's only half a day, except Wednesdays. And Wednesdays, we already talked about planning on doing different events, so the kids are always busy. They already have a director for summer camp that they've been interviewing. They interviewed 4 people already. They're all in school teachers with degrees, so we're going in the right direction. This was just proposed to us yesterday. Maywood is not looking to take over what Rochelle Park has, but we would definitely need to increase the salary a little bit for, I'm sorry, not salary, but the tuition rate to get our salaries equaled out. So it was a very, very good meeting yesterday. We got a lot of information from them, but again, they're not looking to hold because of their safety issues. Their parking lot is basically just a drive-through, and they're worried about their kids getting hit, and they really don't have a building to house their kids in case of weather. They're basically at the pool all day long. So our field and our Houghton Hall is perfect for them. So that's all. Thank you.
May I ask a question? Is this considered like a shared service with Maywood then, or?
Listen, this is preliminary talks. I'm bringing it to you what we spoke about yesterday. Probably not, because Maywood is kind of saying, hey, look, we don't want to do camp, but are you willing to help us here?
That was my question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So Maywood would have nothing to do with this at all, Dean? We would just be accepting the Maywood children into our camp as our camp is right now?
Correct.
And that is just with Washington.
But using their.
So that's where the shared service would use it for the buses.
Using their facilities would, in my opinion, would require some sort of shared
It would be a
service.
shared
Correct.
service. That's why I'm
Facilities,
saying.
100%.
Right.
But as far as the administration of it, the staffing of it would be on Rochelle.
Right, so it would end up being a shared service.
It would
Use
be,
of facilities,
much for the bus and the municipal, because that's their municipal pool. They actually own their pool.
Right, but then you're
Mhm.
using the buses too, and so
Correct.
it would classify as a shared service.
Correct. I'm
Any
sorry,
of
you
that
said it
stuff,
would.
yeah.
Yes.
I would
Right,
agree.
so that's good, that we're doing a shared service
Mhm.
with that, and it benefits the children, right, so it's good. But I just wanted to make sure that it would be classified or something like that. Would that have to go as a, council, would that have to go as a resolution for?
100%. Yeah, and I prepare, depending upon where we go, and I'll be in touch with Dean and everyone else, if a shared services needs to be drafted, I will prepare it in connection with the attorney from Maywood, and then that'll be on for a resolution.
And I presented today only to get feedback, to see if that's what this committee wants me to continue to do.
So I have a question. Can we accommodate that amount of kids in the building?
What's the head count in Carlisle and Houghton Hall?
25.
225.
That's
So we'd have to cap it out.
I think we started last year with 92, and we dropped down through the weeks,
For the
especially the
building
last 2
itself.
weeks. It was a big vacation week. We only had about 45, 50. But the past multiple years, we've had a lot of people from Saddlebrook coming into the camp.
Right.
We're going to eliminate that. It's just going to be open to Maywood, Rochelle Park kids. That's it. That's our cap. Saddlebrook actually closed their camp, so we were getting a lot of their overflow.
Right, I remember that, yes.
So it would just be open to Maywood, Rochelle Park. And at that point, we come up with a number. When we get to that number, that's it. Camp's closed.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you cap it, then so Rochelle Park children would be
Priority.
Priority, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Even though it's so that would have to be stayed in the shared service.
Yeah, but I don't think you need a shared service for that. In terms of the acceptance of the children and whatnot, that would be per your policy. How we
You
run
have
the
to have
camp.
a policy for that?
Yeah, I think you should, especially if we're gonna say that Rochelle Park children are gonna get preference, and then whatever your cap is gonna be after the registration is full, that's that. That would need to be via our camp policy. Anything having to do with the facilities, the equipment, vehicles, all those things would be shared service.
The one question is, though, you have people that are waiting till last minute, the week of camp signing up. Say I already have 30 people from Maywood signed up.
Yeah.
Now I have another 20 from Rochelle Park. Last minute, they're coming in. What am I going to do at that point?
We gotta figure it out. We gotta figure out some sort of a system that will allow what the wishes of the township committee are to be met. And we'll have further conversations about that, find out how we can do it. Because you certainly, I'm sure the township committee doesn't want to do something to the detriment of the children of the township. So I think that this is warranting a further discussion with everyone on the dais and figuring out how we can do it so it's fair, but obviously so the children of the township get preference.
Right. Perfect. Thank you.
Mark, do you recall how many Rochelle Park children? Because I know Saddlebrook had a large contingent.
I think they're about that.
I'm going to say we were close to like 47 to 50 range.
So even if with Maywood between their 65 and 80, our head count would be fine.
I believe so. And we would just have to see what the age groups are. That would be our biggest thing.
I just have a question. With the busing, are they open to letting us use the busing if we wanted to do field trips like we had?
But they're speaking with the with their Board of Ed now to make sure that's all on. See how many buses we would actually use for a trip. Would they use 2 buses, go back with one group and then come back and then bring the other
How many
group?
buses do they have?
They have 11.
Do they really?
Board of Ed has 11 buses, they told us. So I kind of asked them if they could donate one to us, but yeah, they have 11. They won't be unused, but we could probably use 3 or 4 of them.
So that makes sense.
And that's not including their town bus.
I'm just thinking with the shared service, this opens camp up to having field trips where we didn't have it before.
That was already discussed yesterday.
Okay,
Talking bowling,
right,
Vance Home Park.
right,
So we have a couple things already planned.
okay.
On the Wednesdays where we wouldn't be at the pool, they would have an all-day
And
event.
it'd be like a set price for this.
Right.
Another question, the age ranges for Rochelle Park and Maywood, are they the same or would that have to change?
No, it's going to be the same age range.
Okay,
Yeah, we're doing from K through, we said 7th, but it's usually 6th. You don't really get too many 7th and 8th graders.
and that was what Maywood
That's what
had?
they did too,
Okay.
yes.
Going into kindergarten, or do they have to complete kindergarten?
What did we do last year? I think
Going
they
into kindergarten.
they had to complete it, correct?
No.
Oh, they were in it.
They were
They
had to enter
Right.
into kindergarten.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
small. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have at this time.
Open up for committee reports. Teresa?
Sure, thank you. Good evening, everyone. First, I want to say I was at the February 22nd senior meeting, and they had their meeting and they played bingo, which was a wonderful time, I believe by all. I didn't win, but I did hold the card for somebody else that had to leave, and they won. So they got their $5. The next senior meeting is March 14th. There's going to be corned beef sandwiches that will be served. And also on April 11th, there's going to be a meeting with the Bergen County Superintendent of Elections, who would like to speak to the seniors in regards to a voting presentation. Correct? Is that already set up,
Yep.
Emery? Right?
Yep, they're
Thank
bringing the voting machines in.
They're going to bring them in and show them the
Do a
votes.
whole video, a whole.
Perfect. Okay, and so then the school board, the school held their monthly meeting last night and acknowledged approximately 90 students who made honor roll and high honor roll for the second market period. Congratulations to all those students. It was also stated that the Board of Education will do their public budget presentation April 23rd at 7 p.m. I believe it's going to be in the auditorium. On the DPW, I got this from Mr. Brown. I know I saw Mr. Brown here somewhere, but they picked up a litter in the parks and the town properties on a daily basis. They spot check the sewer system on a weekly basis, looking for clogs before they become a problem. One of the sewer trucks had been out of service for a couple of weeks, and now it's back in service. They had one sewer backup call. The street sweeper was taken out to clean 8 roads for 8 hours. I don't know how many days that was for. Was that just the one day, Mr. Brown? That the sweeper went out for one day, for the 8 hours for the one day? Yeah. Okay, great. And then, so Mike and Mr. Brown attended a class at Rutgers for tree planting and installation. It was a 6-hour course, and I think it was a certificated course that you received it, right? And also Mike attended a class for the proper method of tree pruning, and that was another 6-hour certificated class. Am I understanding that too? The DPW repaired all the dumpsters at the town properties. All the dumpsters that were rotting. They replaced them, cut them, and brought the pieces out, welded new pieces to it, so they're good to go. Just a reminder, he'd like everyone to understand and remember that they pick up materials, metal curbside on Mondays for recycling. Please call for the pickup of the metals. Electronics are picked up every 4th Wednesday of the month. Again, there's a number here. You can call DPW 201-587-7740, extension 2501. And the stormwater coordinator's report was they cleaned off the storm drains after the recent rains, and they will be introducing a new stormwater ordinance regarding tree removal and what needs to be planted afterwards. And I know it was spoken. Yeah, go ahead.
I was mixed up with the Emery, and I thought it was actually going to be on tonight. The new ordinance from the DEP stormwater regarding tree planting and tree removal and replanting. So it's really any municipal trees that are removed and what has to be replanted.
Great, that's great. I know it was spoken about the planting. The administrator said something about the planting instead of 14 trees. It's going to be 30 trees that you were looking to plant. What was the location for that?
Yeah.
So those are all on Harvey Avenue to replace those 30 trees. So, I'm sorry, to replace 14 trees, you're going to put 30 trees in. Am I correct on that?
Okay. And we're also working with public service to, what's the problem?
Oldest?
Oldest, yes.
So Oldest will have the trees, and we're looking at what date do we look around? Spring?
It should be.
Some springtime?
It should be in the spring.
I mean, that's usually when you plant.
Supposed to come back around and get trees back.
Perfect. If I may, Mayor? Yes. So I reached out to Public Service as part of a conversation I had with Dave, and Lauren from Public Service got back to me probably within an hour, and she spoke to their arborist who said, yes, we walked up and down Older Street, only 5 residents wanted trees. Everybody else was like, no, we don't want them. So with Dave, we'll make a determination how we're going to plant, if any more, but Public Service still says, look, give me alternate sites around town and we'll give you those trees and we'll plant those as well. So that's what we're working on for this spring. And they gave that an April time frame.
April?
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you very much, Dave, for your help.
Miniman, Thomas Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. On February 21st, the Access for All Committee met, and there were great conversations about ideas and opportunities aimed at fostering an accessible and inclusive community here in Rochelle Park. The next Access for All meeting will be held on Wednesday, March 20th at 7 p.m. in the Senior Center. Just a reminder, the next Library Board meeting will be held on Monday, March 11th at 6:30 p.m., also in the Senior Center. There will be a household hazardous waste collection event at the Bergen County Utilities Authority in Menaki on Saturday, March 9th. And that is all for me. Thank you so much.
Good women, Gallo.
Hi, I have the police report for January. They answered an unprecedented 1,488 calls for service. Even with the amount of calls and time spent answering these calls, our patrol division and detectives continue to demonstrate good tactics, proactive tactics in the endeavor to seek out criminals and criminal behavior before it impacts innocent people. And the output is demonstrated by 21 arrests, 51 criminal charges, and 390 summonses issued. That averages to about 1.5 arrests per day. They also kicked off the Cops and Shops program, which profiles local businesses with our officers meeting and greeting the ownership and management, introducing police department to them, and providing them community outreach. The success of the program is not just measured in the amount of social media likes, but it also proves valuable in the future, building trust and open line of communication between our stakeholders and the police department and the township. Members of the department were assigned to the Bergen County Regional SWAT team, provided their expertise and professionalism at events around the county, helping to conduct successful warrant searches and entries. The Detective Bureau continued to provide not only support services and follow up on crimes reported, but also conducted an investigation that led to a drug buy at a local hotel, which resulted in an arrest for the distribution of heroin. Detective Sergeant Shakin and Detective McCoon also conducted a random suspicious vehicle check that resulted in 2 adult arrests and the removal of 1 kilo of cocaine from the streets of Rochelle Park. On the administrative side, we continue to seek our leadership with the department undergoing training that will allow for growth of professionalism from years to come, with Lieutenant Bermudez currently taking the West Point, New Jersey State Chief of Police Command and Leadership Academy. So there was 53 motor vehicle crashes, 390 summonses, 183 motor vehicle stops, 81 emergency medical calls, 8 community outreach, 17 fire department responses, and again, the total arrest is 51. So thank you to our police department for some of these big arrests, and thank you, Chief. Your team is doing fabulous work protecting us.
Deputy Mayor?
Okay, recreation basketball ends on March 22nd, and the recreation adult basketball will be ending on March 5th. Recreation baseball registration is now open, and it will be closing on March 6th. The portal information is on the recreation Facebook page. The township website has been sent to the school to be put in their virtual folder. Opening day for baseball is April 6th at Matthews Field. Recreation Easter egg hunt will be held on March 23rd at 10 a.m. at Carlock Field, and the rain date is March 30th. They ask that you please bring your own basket for the Easter egg hunt and also your cameras to take photos with the Easter Bunny. Recreation has posted positions for both Recreation Camp Director and Summer Camp Assistant Director to be posted in the Our Town and on the Township website. You can also contact the Recreation Director. Recreation is also looking and exploring into forming a 501c to put all of their sports in its own entity, such as some of the surrounding towns. They're currently in the process of gathering the information with the possibility of forming this. They would like to discuss it with the borough administrator and the CFO, and if they deem it feasible, they'll be discussing it with the mayor and council. It's just something that they're looking at. They seem to be having issues with referees and umpires. They don't have companies. These individuals come in and want cash at the game. As municipalities, we cannot give cash. So they're having a very difficult time finding umps and referees for the games for the kids. So I believe this is why some of these other towns have formed these 501cs, is their own entity, they have their own bank account, they can pay cash if they want. They don't have to wait for the town to cut checks. So it's something they're looking into to see what's involved, if they can do it. They're going to talk to you and Roy, and then I guess if they feel that they can do it, they'll bring it to us at that point for us to discuss it. But it's just something that they're very concerned with. It's been an issue, and more so, umpires are threatening to walk off the field, yeah, if they don't have cash in hand. So it's an ongoing issue. The American Legion is selling tickets for the New Jersey Warriors versus New Jersey State PBA at Montclair State Ice Arena on March 2nd at 4:30. Tickets are $10 online and $15 at the door, and I have flyers over at the table for anyone who's interested. They will also be holding their St. Patrick's Day dinner dance on March 23rd from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Tickets are $40. You can purchase your tickets directly from the post. They also will be participating in a Veteran Suicide Awareness Seminar on Tuesday, March 5th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Randolph, New Jersey. The seminar is open to all members of the community, as well as community veteran service providers. You can learn about community resources that are available to our veterans in crisis. Presentations are by the community leaders and the VA Suicide Community Engagement Team. The Hometown Hero Banner program has started and will be going on through April 2024. The new price of the banners is $130. Qualifications are that they must be a current resident of Rochelle Park and a veteran, or must have passed away as a resident of Rochelle Park. And unfortunately, they cannot guarantee banner replacement as the program is growing. There's also applications on the table for that as well. For the Boy Scouts, Troop 114 will be hosting their spaghetti dinner and turkey tray on March 9th, and there'll be 2 seatings. The first seating will be from 2:30 to 4 p.m. The second seating will be from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at the American Legion. Tickets are $10 for adults and $5 for children 11 and under. Prices at the door will be $12 for adults and $6 for children 11 and under. And takeout is also available, and you can reach out to the troop or to Diane, the hassle to purchase your tickets. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Building Department, permission issued, 27. UCC inspections, 49. Total value of constructions, $411,756. Permit fees collected, $12,883. Permit fees waived, 0. Zoning permits, $750. Zoning inspections, 0. Applications, 11. Zoning violations, 1. Continuing certification of occupancy, $800. Standalone inspections, 5. Property maintenance violations, 3. Complaints, 76. New complaints, 72. Closed. CCO inspections, 9. Total fees collected, $14,433. Fire Department, the Fire Department responded to 32 calls for the month of January. Fire Department responded to many activated fire alarms, gas calls, motor vehicle accidents, elevator entrapment, mutual aid, and working fires. Fire Department responded to an electrical fire at 455 Rochelle Ave Haircraft Salon. There was an electrical fire on the water heater extinguished by the Fire Department. January 19th, Rochelle Park Fire Pro was dispatched to possible basement fire in Maywood. Chief DeFalco arrived before any Maywood units confirmed they worked in house fire. Chief was able to start the mutual aid response. Fire was put out in 30 minutes. Rochelle Park Fire Department responded and assisted Hasbrook Heights Fire Department on a 5th alarm fire involving a tanker trailer and vehicle on Route 17. January 10th, Rochelle Park Fire Department held a standby for severe weather and flooding. We had members ready to respond with boats and swift water gear in case we needed to enter the flood waters. Also, a reminder, daylight savings is coming up in March. Please remember when you change your clocks, change your batteries on your detectors. Tree committee, as of now, we only have Michael Warren involved. If anybody else wants to put their resumes in to be a volunteer, we appreciate it. I'd like to thank Dave Brown for being very proactive with our trees and towns. I guess you two are, as of now, working together. Hopefully we'll get more. And that's it for me. And Attorney's report.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So there's 3 ordinances on your agenda tonight for first reading. I just want to briefly go over those. First one is ordinance number 1199-24. This is an ordinance required pursuant to the flood mitigation program in FEMA. They're requiring certain changes be made to yard regulations, specifically certain exceptions that we need to input for any residential homes that are in the floodplain that are going to be needed to be elevated in the future. My office prepared this ordinance. It was reviewed and approved by the township planner in conjunction with my discussion with the BA as well. So that's on for first reading tonight. After first reading tonight, I'm instructing the clerk to send this ordinance over to the planning board for review and comment. That must be done after first reading. After the planning board reviews and comments, they'll send the comments back to us for the township committee's review and approval. After we get the comments from the planning board, whether they are positive or negative, after we receive the comments, the township committee is free to then move forward and pass this ordinance upon a second reading. Okay, and that's ordinance 1199-24. Second ordinance that is on for tonight, ordinance 1200-24. This is an ordinance that was discussed at the last township committee meeting, specifically with regard to the storage of garbage when it's not being placed out for pickup. Pursuant to the comments that I received from the township committee last week, I adjusted the ordinance to basically confirm and state that trash, garbage, and the receptacles are not to be stored in the front of the property. They must be stored in the rear or the side yard of the property when not being placed out for pickup. There is a second ordinance that deals with the same language, but with regard to recyclables and recyclable containers. Again, must be stored in the rear or side yard. It was discussed that we needed to add that caveat for side yard because certain properties in the township, the way they're situated, may not have an applicable rear yard. So as long as they're rear yard or side yard, that's acceptable, and that should hopefully address some of the issues that we have had with people storing garbage and recyclables in the front yard for lengthy periods of time, which is unsightly and could also present a nuisance. So those are in there. Excuse me, 1202, I'm sorry. 1202, thank you, Aaron. 1202 is the smoking ordinance. Again, pursuant to the discussion that was held last week with the township committee with regard to smoking, we adjusted and amended that ordinance on first reading to confirm that there shall be no smoking at Carlock Field, which includes Houghton Hall and all other buildings, no smoking at the Township Office of Emergency Headquarters, and no smoking, at all buildings and property located at 151 West Passaic Street, including the gazebo and the surrounding area. I believe that covers the concerns that the Township Committee had with regard to that ordinance. So if there's any questions on any three of those, I'd be happy to answer them, but the ordinances were discussed last meeting, and then I made the revisions pursuant to your comments. So if there's no questions or comments, those are all for first reading today. Okay, and in addition, pursuant to the further discussion that we had at the last meeting with regard to the Shade Tree Advisory Committee, I did further research, and I have some talking points and bullet points that I wanted to bring up. Last meeting, I discussed that there's really three ways that townships and boroughs go about this. The first way is essentially a committee, an advisory committee, which we have for the first time this year enacted in our bylaws, which the mayor just said Mike Warren was so gracious to volunteer, and maybe we'll have some other people to volunteer. Okay, so we're going to get into further. So right now you have a shade tree committee or advisory committee. That committee, like other committees that are established under your bylaws, is charged with coming back to the township committee with proposals, policies, and suggestions with how you can better the township by planting trees, tree regulations. That township committee is free to discuss with the DPW superintendent as well as the BA anything that they need with regard to information or data. They would be able to discuss that with them and then essentially come back to you with proposals and ways that they feel that you could better the township. And then the township committee can act accordingly depending on, just like other committees, volunteer committee. Okay. The other two options that were discussed at the last meeting, there are two other ways that townships that I've seen have dealt with this. The other way is the township committee, the advisory committee, still a committee formed, still by volunteers appointed by the mayor in the same way the committee you have, has direct access to the DPW superintendent and the BA. And the DPW and the superintendent and the BA are given authorization to act on behalf of the township committee The only time things would come to you at that time wouldn't be directly from the committee. It would go from the committee to the DPW superintendent BA, and then to the DPW superintendent BA to the committee. So the avenue would be direct communication with the advisory committee to the DPW superintendent BA, and the DPW superintendent BA to the committee with that proposal. You know, lines of communication are similar. They're just kind of not reversed, but in a different avenue. And all the powers are the same. The township committee retains the power and authority to act via resolution with regard to any of the proposals that the advisory committee has, obviously upon the recommendation and the guidance from the DPW superintendent and the BA as well. Okay. The third way is completely different. Third way is an actual shade tree commission that would need to be created via ordinance. When you're creating a shade tree commission, it is indeed a separate body. You're creating a body that will have the sole and exclusive right to make any and all decisions with regard to planting trees, maintaining trees, shade tree in general, on public streets. That commission would bypass the township committee. They would still have to comply with certain things with regard to the planning board and whatnot, but essentially they would have the full exclusive authority to come up with proposals and act on those proposals. They would have to come up with a budget, annual appropriations every year, and provide that to the township committee, which would be line items in your budget. And then the mayor would appoint people to serve actual terms. The terms would be staggered, right? Usually a 1-year term, 2-year, 3 or 4-year term. All individuals that serve on the commission would need to be residents of the township. And it would indeed be a commission, not unlike the planning board. It would be a separate body that would have to have minutes. They would have to have meetings. They would have to comply with the Open Public Records Act as well as the Sunshine Law. And it would essentially be a separate committee acting separately from the township. And then there would not be obviously there could always be lines of communication, but there would not be any guidance or authority on the township committee with regard to what the Shade Tree Commission is doing. It would, for all intents and purposes, be separate. The same thing goes for the BA and the DPW superintendent. The Shade Tree Committee would not need to really go through them. They could certainly ask them for guidance, but the Shade Tree Commission would be able to vote and make decisions separately from the township committee, and the township committee would relinquish any authority with regard to that. And again, that would need to be done through ordinance. That would be a whole separate process. So again, I presented those to you by way of bullet points and talking points because it's really the township committee's decision what are pros and what are cons in terms of what you want to do. But I wanted to just give you a summary bullet points so the township committee can kind of have an understanding of what the 3 options are. Right now, you do have on the table a Shade Tree Advisory Committee, which acts in the same manner that the other committees established pursuant to your bylaws do, which would be they would meet, they could provide reports to you. There, for all intents and purposes, should be council liaisons on that committee, and then that committee would be able to submit proposals to the township committee to review and approve and decide whether to move forward or not. Okay. Any questions?
That's a lot more.
I know, I
Yeah,
tried
I mean,
to be
thank you
lengthy.
for doing that, because I
My
think
pleasure.
I said, give me the
Yes.
pros and cons.
Yep.
And I just have a few things that, with the commission, you would have a liaison from the town to the commission, or no?
Yeah, I think you could have a liaison, just like you would for the planning board, yeah.
Like, that would be a mayoral appointment?
Yeah, mayor appointment as well as the people that serve on the commission, mayor appointments.
So,
Same one.
so with, you have the committee, and then you're saying the committee that would have, so the committee that's there now, basically answers to who?
So the committee doesn't answer anybody. They're charged like any other committee with coming up with proposals and providing those proposals to the township committee.
So they come to the township
Yeah,
committee?
come to the township committee. They have access, as any other committee would, to, the BA, if they need to discuss something with the BA, and obviously the DPW superintendent. That would obviously be my one piece of guidance that it would give you, that no matter what this township committee does, I think that the DPW superintendent 100% needs to be involved for various purposes, storage of the trees, budgetary, things like that. But yeah, essentially the relationship between that committee and the superintendent DPW, I think, needs to be a good one, regardless of what you decide to do.
Could that fall under the DPW also?
Yeah.
Could it be that, within that line also?
Like a budget? So if you did a shade tree commission, I think it needs to be a separate line item. I have to check with Mr. Ritigliano on it, but I think it's an appropriation, separate line item on his budget. I believe.
And that would be
I
budgeted
mean,
for
other-
what? For like,
The other land use boards are.
They are.
separate
They are.
appropriations.
They're under separate, yeah, so
so,
it would be.
but then that budget would be for whatever they need to do and how.
Yeah, they would submit a proposal to the township committee like any other does with what they think they need for the upcoming year.
Mr. Denise, would that require legal counsel?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it could, because it's a separate commission, so it's very possible, and I'm looking at more that they
So
would.
it's like a pretty much its
Separate,
own board.
its own body, so legal counsel would be required in the event that there's a conflict, just like the planning board, same type of
Planning and
deal.
zoning,
So all those things would be included in that separate line item budget, cost for legal counsel, professionals, and then obviously the actual trees. And then storage of the trees, determine where you want to do those things, that, I would assume those would all be a separate line item in the budget and your ticket appropriation.
And a shade tree committee is really no different than like a resident coming forward and being like, hey, I want a tree on the easement in front of my house. We would make a motion, approve it,
Yeah, I
and then the tree's planted, right?
Yeah, I think the whole reason that the township committee has committees is they're recognized committees that have liaisons directly on them that sit at actual meetings. And it's to have a meeting of the minds of residents that truly care about those issues. And then, yes, the committee will to come back as a whole group, however many group are on the committee with the liaison and say, hey, I sat in on this committee, as the liaison, this is what the committee wants to do. So there's more of a direct line of communication for the group. It's better than just a resident coming, but again, that decision is yours in terms of what you think is the best course of action.
Fun fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, our arborist, Elizabeth, she's the chair of Shade Tree Commission in River Edge, so it would be great to get her input on
I
this.
didn't even know we had an arborist. I think that's terrific. Great suggestion. I know that Mr. Warren said that he knows people. Do we know the arborist, Mr. Warren?
Well, I did find out that our arborist is the chairperson of River Edge. I have been looking at many towns with the Shade Tree Commission, and I know when you hear that there's a budget, you're gonna get scared, but their budget's like $5,000 for the year, maybe $7,500 for the year to conduct their business, so we're not talking big bucks. I know we're getting a lot of cannabis money. I want to be involved with a commission that can make a difference for our town, not be an empty committee that will just be heard but have no action taken to appease people who are interested in the shade tree issue. I'll wait for further public comments into that.
Thank you.
I have more to say about that.
Okay. So in any event, I gave what I thought was a brief summary for the benefit of the township committee, and again, told you where you currently sit right now. And then it's up to the township committee in terms of how they'd like to proceed. And listen, you're not barred from changing things or switching things up. It is true that if you decided to move forward with the commission, that would take some work. We need to do an ordinance and whatnot. But the fact that you decide to do that or not do that doesn't change the ability of this township committee to do something different in the future, depending on what you thought was in the best interest. So you're at your will to do it, whenever you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor.
My pleasure. Next report.
This time I'd like to get a motion to open up the public portion, all items.
I'll make the motion.
Any second?
Second,
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Apici?
Yes.
And Mayor Pacetti?
Yes. This time it's open up for the public. State your name.
Sorry, I'm quicker and I want to get out of here. Linda Boniface, 33 Parkway. I don't want to be here. I'm honest with you. I do not want to be here. If I wanted to be here, I would have ran for election and won a third term. Oh, I definitely knew I would have won. But I watched the first meeting. I went down to my basement and threw out 8 bags of garbage. And then somebody called me and said, Linda, do me a favor, watch the engineer's report about the plaza, especially the pipe size. So I sat through that. I actually skidded ahead, found Bruce Rockwell sitting, and then I just kept watching. For 6 years, I sat on this dais and was constantly attacked by right-wing Republicans in your club. And then to watch that meeting and see my Democrats being abused by the same right-wing Republican that wrote numerous letters to the Our Town about me, that 3 years it took Lynn Houghton to say, called him out as a liar. I will not stand for it. If it keeps happening, if they keep getting abused for asking questions I don't see you ask, and no questions. I want somebody to ask questions for me. If that person keeps coming back, and I had a whole list of questions that I was going to make you look like idiots, but I didn't do it. I just want to tell you where I'm at. If this person keeps coming back to these meetings and abuses my Democrats, I'll be back for you three. You could put an end to it. You could put an end to it. Because it's awfully funny how she talks about a missed court date. Do you know the court doesn't make money in Rochelle Park? Do you know it? Does any of you know it? The court does not make money in town. When a fine comes in, some goes to the state, some goes to the county, and we get our dribbles. The court has lost money every year, except last year. It had a profit of $7,000. The year before, it lost $26,000. And the only reason it had a profit last year is because the salaries were low, very low. So I'm just putting it out there. If this person keeps coming to abuse, or any other right-wing, because we've had it all, asked when the Democrats controlled, oh, are you going to make Rochelle Park a sanctuary city? Is Rochelle Park a sanctuary city? 5 years later, no, 6 years later, no, it's not a sanctuary city. To ask a member, another right-wing Republican in your party, to ask a Democratic member if he was a member of the Nazi Party. I will not tolerate it. I will be the ones who will stand up at this microphone for them. So you guys can put a stop to it. I suggest you do that, because you'll get me. And you're not going to like my questions. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Still seeing Jack? Still seeing Jack?
Please hold it down.
Still seeing Jack? Those 60 meetings didn't go on.
We have order.
Bob
Public portion.
Bob Davidson from Lexington Avenue. The, just reference to the presentation by Mr. Doyle this evening.
All right. Order. Public portion, you can do what you want. Public portion.
Okay. Reference to the presentation this evening. And I know that, matter of fact, I think that maybe, Gail, you might be the only one that's been here when we did pilots or anything like that. I'm not sure. I believe you're the only person even on this board right now that's even had any experience whatsoever in this. The only thing is, you made the conversation about you have questions and you want to do this in closed session. I don't think it's a closed session item unless it's the negotiations. You are looking for information. This information should not only be provided to you, but the answers should also be to the public. I think that that's the way it should be done, okay? And I've always been more into open public to begin with.
Ms. Davis, I agree with you. I'm just going to make a comment because that was my suggestion. My suggestion specifically related to only items in closed session. There were certain litigation aspects of Mr. Doyle's comments that were made, as well as negotiable things that are more appropriate for closed session. And I said, in the event that this township committee would like to explore things that are appropriate for closed session, that would be in closed session. I agree with you, and I share your empathy that things need to be in open. But there are certain aspects of that I agree, and it's my job to protect this township body.
I'm not questioning that.
And that's my comment. I just wanted to clarify.
And I'm not questioning that. So my suggestion to this township committee is that you prepare yourself. Write down your questions that you have, and you should have many, not just one or two. You should all have many before you get to this meeting, okay? And if you have to provide them to the attorney, then do so to see whether or not those questions need to be answered in a closed session item, okay? But again, I'm just going to say it, that not only do you need to be educated, the public needs to be educated as well, and they should know what those answers are. That's number one. Number two, I know that you're going to be voting this evening, reference to the, for the homeowners and the flooding. I'm very pleased and very happy to see that happen, and I wish all those people the very best. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hello again, Michael Warren, 181 West Older Street. Mr. Bassetti, if you're going to appoint me to something, let me know before I put my foot in my mouth. I mean, listen to me, I don't mind eating a little crow once in a while, it builds character, but a phone call would have been nice. First, I want to...
more people put in for it.
Yes, I'm making the calls.
And I know you worked with Dave already. So
yeah, Dave and I, we've been chit-chatting a whole lot, so. And I think on most shade tree commissions in other towns I've seen, I've looked at their agendas, their minutes, they do have the DPW person on there. They have a township committee or a town council person on it as well. They do have the key players, that you want to have to make sure this isn't just some kind of, rogue committee that's going to, start planting a million things. But having a commission, I believe, this is my belief, it makes a real difference in town, other than just a committee that what I would describe as being toothless. Dean, I appreciate the 30 trees going up in Howard. I do.
Harvey, yeah.
Oh, Harvey,
I don't
sorry.
want you looking
No,
yelling at me.
I will be, so don't worry. But on Harvey, it's a great start. With the Shade Tree Commission, we have passionate volunteers in town. We have them on the planning board. One of them spoke tonight, zoning board, library board, rec board. We have people who want to contribute to Rochelle Park in ways that they're passionate about, to have energy. Are we going to be able to educate the people on that block on why those trees are important to go up and how to take care of them and how maybe we shouldn't damage them if we don't like them? I know we talked about oldest before. People don't want the tree. Well, a Shade Tree Commission can handle that load of work where they spend their budget educating the public, talking with the arborist, taking inventory of the trees. I don't know what percentage of the 30 trees being planted replaces, because we never counted how many came down.
14.
No, I mean, in total, in the town. Yeah, no, in the total. 14, yes, I know.
That guy back there might know.
Dave?
Dave actually has an inventory.
You got numbers, great,
Dave has
fantastic.
inventory.
So hopefully Dave is on the commission, right?
Well, he's the shade tree division.
Yes, he is.
Ordinance.
But I was also talking to Dave before, and he said, Mike, we're just 6 guys. And I said, Dave, Shade Tree Commission, we could ask for volunteers to plant in the spring. Earth Day, April, I mean, hello, it's right there. There are people who would be active in that role without having to divert employees, taxpayer funds to do yet another task. Again, we know we're trying to keep taxes stable and not have to hire so many people and whatnot. So this town, I know, does ask for volunteers, and we treat our volunteers very well. So I'm honored to be a part of that, if that's what the Township Committee wants and the mayor wants. I'm just asking for you to consider a commission, because that is what I have basically seen in towns around us. And maybe talking with the arborist would be beneficial to why she's a chairperson of their Shade Tree Committee in River Edge. And that's a nice town, too. I have a couple of friends who live there. One other point I have, before I get to my question about the ordinance here tonight, Mark Azzolino came up and he mentioned something that stuck with me about how it is now so dangerous to walk the rec kids from the field to the pool. And complete streets, at the very heart of it, and part of the reason why I'm working on forming Team Rochelle Park, a 501c4, to advocate for that, is for that reason. Why do we feel that walking kids from a play area to a pool area is so unsafe? How do we reverse that trend? And complete streets, I think, is a start to taking back the areas of town that belong to pedestrians, right? I was driving home today down West Passaic. East Passaic, I know it's a county road, but I was trying to imagine if I was not able to walk, or have a physical disability. There's a lot of big telephone poles that jut right into the sidewalk, if I was in a wheelchair or had something to help me walk, it'd be hard to navigate around. These are the core principles, I think, that we can start to reverse, because we've made so much room for automobiles, cars, and I know everyone drives. I have a car. I'm not saying I'm anti-car, but I'm saying is we need to look at the areas where we want our kids to be and to walk and to play, and for people to take advantage of what will eventually be a tree-covered Rochelle Park. So, Dean, you said earlier that you had some updates on that for me.
So again, Michael, and if I may, Mayor? Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to just ask him to speak.
I love our conversation. So on Monday, I was asked because I applied for a Complete Streets grant. It's a technical grant, and they wanted to know which project. I asked for the Rochelle Avenue project because that's the biggest one possibly coming down the pipe. Of course, it's a county project, but again, we're talking about the safety of kids in the area of the school. I figured, why not start there? I was asked by the state, listen, they said no guarantees that you're going to get this grant, but we need a letter of support from Bergen County. So I sent an email to Joe Femia. I have not heard back, so I will reach back out to him tomorrow asking for such letter. The state did tell me that Bergen County typically will do the letter of support because they know they want it. And listen,
they're
Rochelle Avenue,
yeah.
it's Railroad, Rochelle, Central / Lots Lane. That all leads to Saddle River County Park. I can't see the county not wanting to do it. So again, I continue to advocate on behalf of the township to try to get it going. I have my notes from when Boswell spoke about. This committee's been given several updates from Bruce Rockwell. I forwarded the emails for their review, talking about the different ways to do it, whether it be by ordinance, master plan.
Right.
So there are conversations, Michael, as you know.
Yeah.
All governments move slow.
I get it.
Unfortunately, but at least for Rochelle Avenue project, we're looking at it.
And Dean, if you don't mind, I know when I came to the office last week to look at your sound system for a possibility of live streaming, and we had just a chat about how much you guys take on in a work session. At the last work session, you had 9 items, and I said to Dean, if you only dedicated 10 minutes to all of those 9 items, that's an hour and a half, and yet you barely scratched the surface with a 10-minute conversation. That's why when I talk about a Shade Tree Commission and the power of volunteers, leaders like yourself have the ability to involve the community in some of that decision-making. You get to delegate. You delegate the planning stuff to the planning board, the zoning stuff to the zoning, and so on and so forth, so that you can work on the matters at hand, like this gentleman right here today coming to you, right? That's a real issue for you guys to really sink your teeth into, but you got to have the time to do so. You meet twice a month, right, Dean? That was pretty much the gist of my conversation with you about that. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you letting me speak about the Shade Tree Committee and the Complete Streets. Again, if there's anything we can do as Team Rochelle Park, let me know. I've been reaching out to assemblywomen and assemblymen, and one other thing, too, about the Shade Tree Commission is when a developer does come in here, the Shade Tree Commission can help improve the green infrastructure around those places. At the flood presentation meeting on the 8th, we saw, if you go onto the website, there's a slide there that shows you what could have been over there in terms of shade tree coverage, green infrastructure, flood, stormwater mitigation when it comes to water falling off the building and draining down to the ground. These things are possible. And I just think having more eyes on a big project really creates the idea for the developer that we're on the ball. We want something good here, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire for that. Now, on to my other question. I apologize for the length of this. This waste and storage collection ordinance that's happening tonight. I've been to every township meeting, I think, for the past year or more. I don't remember anyone coming to talk about this problem. How did something like this come to you and then be put on ordinance for tonight? Again, my own curiosity as someone who's been coming here and with items I think are beneficial to the town.
I'll tell you, I mean, you could take, I know, Mike, if I may, Mayor?
Yeah.
Yes. So the code enforcement officer, we've been receiving numerous complaints from residents. As the VA, they call me, they email me, I send my code enforcement.
Is it numerous complaints from one resident or?
So Don went at our code enforcement officer, we were getting numerous complaints from one resident.
One
However,
resident.
Don found other areas of town.
Okay.
In a similar situation.
Okay.
Says to me, your ordinance has no teeth. I can't even give a notice of violation.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So-
So I brought it to.
Okay, because I don't remember anyone coming here about it, and.
Oh,
and-
yeah, so I mean, I get emails and phone calls and.
Okay,
all
so,
that.
listen, guys, if I just have to email you for this stuff I'm asking for,
Just
if it gets it done faster, I'll email you.
Mr. Warren, just
Yes.
give me the full breath. So
Yes.
after I was advised of it, I'm a prosecutor in a number of towns, I looked at it from a legal standpoint, I agreed with code enforcement in the fact that you need to enforce some of the things in the court of law. It would be difficult for the prosecutor to do it in that fashion. So I drafted up a makeshift ordinance, passed it around. It was placed on for discussion last meeting. Because
Yes,
there was
I know,
more
I had to
input.
leave.
And actually, at that meeting, I received beneficial input, Committeewoman Judge and Dean, as well as the mayor had asked some questions, and then Committeewoman Judge brought up the idea of a nuisance. That was added to this, because I had agreed with that. After I made those revisions, about 2 days after the meeting, I resent it around to the Township Committee, and at that point, we put it on for the meeting today. So everybody had full breadth of input on this one.
And I will tell you, back to the municipal government was slow through no fault of anybody. Mrs. Verhassel brought up the smoking issue to me 8 months ago. We've finally gotten around to where we're.
yeah, we got an email.
And that's my
So,
fault partially.
no, not at all. It's a matter of, it's a matter of,
No, not after tonight, you don't have to email
there
anymore.
was different, again, you know, it's a Doug Oils tonight. There was a changeover in government.
I know, I understand. I think
So my point being-
I am heavy-handedly trying to prove my point of, you know, there's things that will get done quickly
Warren,
and things
I
will get
want-
done
I want
slowly,
more
right?
trees. I tell you what, more trees than you want. I'm with you. I'm willing to go out there
I'm
and
just
shovel.
trying, I'm
willing to go
very,
out there and shovel.
I don't hide it well. I'm very heavy-handed when it comes to trying to prove my point about a couple things. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Yes.
No, I was gonna say, I always value your opinion, and the Tracy Committee,
No, I understand,
I
Mr.
have strength in you.
And I wasn't lying when I said everyone I spoke to up there about the Shade Tree Commission has said that this is something that they really support. So when I hear that, and and then this is just me saying, like, what I thought was happening was perhaps a slow walk of this to maybe get me tired and to go away, but go ahead.
Couldn't get nobody to volunteer, and now that
Yeah.
you're the only one, 2 months went by.
Yeah, I'll
My
make some
door's
calls.
open, and give it a chance to
Yes.
go forward. with
Yeah.
the Committee, and it's not gonna be toothless. We're
No,
all
I hope
here
not.
to
Yeah, I
support
hope
you.
not. That's the only
Dave
thing I'm
Brown,
hoping for.
you know how to get a hold of him?
No, Dave's great, yeah.
Just let me know when
We've
we
been
get a meeting
chit-chatting.
going, and
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah, and thank you for everyone for planting those trees on Harvey, and Dave took the course, he told me, it was 6 hours, so thank you for reporting on that, and I really appreciate your time, thank you.
Can I
Yes.
just, Mr. Warren, quickly, the Shade Tree Commission
Yes.
just deals with trees quasi, but with a developer, like a new developer, it would also be greenery and shrubbery and other stuff.
So Mr. DePisa will have to give me proper law language on this, but I think there's something in the land use law that requires, if a town has a shade tree commission, when the planning board finishes their planning, I mean, I don't know exactly what they do, but it's important. What they do, then the shade tree commission has to look at the same thing from the perspective of greenery.
Right.
That's it.
NJSA, I think it's 4064-1 or something, there's a statute for it.
I know there is, but you know it better, so,
I think that's the
yeah.
That's because when you mentioned commission, I
Yes.
also did my own little
Yeah.
looking and hunting and
Right.
seeing the difference, and I saw
Yeah.
if a developer comes in, they go to the commission.
After the planning board does their
Right,
thing,
and the commission works with them to
Yes.
do, am I
Yeah.
correct?
And again,
and there's typically a liaison to planning or a
Right,
liaison
right,
to zone, you know,
right.
so it's,
And even if
Yeah.
there was, let's say the township committee decides not to go forward with a commission at this point, whether you do or you don't. I just want everybody to know, because it ties into what Mr. Doyle said. All of these things could be included in a developer's agreement as concessions to the town. So there's nothing that says you cannot sit down with the developer and say, we want X.
And bring in the arborist.
And we will bring a
Would
arborist.
that be the committee, the
Committee-
Shade Tree Committee?
So it normally is the professionals, it's not the township, because you can't have a quorum, but there's no reason that you couldn't have input from you could invite the committee. So let's say you get to a developer's agreement and there's only a committee. And the committee says, I'd like to be sitting on developer's agreement with regard to the foliage, I might use the right word, vegetation, I'm sorry for this word. So, and get input or proposal, and there's no reason why you wouldn't want to do that. That does not stop the advisory committee from saying, hey, we know that there's a developers agreement out there, we want to take a look. We're suggesting, he's saying these trees, those trees are bad for the town, you know, these trees are better. Nothing stops that.
And to that point, Mayor, if I may,
That's true.
so to that point, you know, as police chief, I learned early on in my career through talking with other chiefs, and like, if you don't go to your land use boards as a police chief or the developers before those boards. And
Yes, you come.
Well, I've gotten probably the township, I don't want to exaggerate, at least $350,000 worth of equipment out of developers to no cost to the taxpayers by simply saying, look, what you're building is going to create traffic, it's going to create unsafe conditions, for, you know, it's going to invite criminals, and they never say no. So to that point, your shade tree committee could be here, going before the planning board, being, you know, being heard, and have that say, the developers know to buy you the township.
Right.
Again, I got $100,000 out of a developer in
But,
Millwood.
yes.
It's a drop in their bucket.
But I just want to point out, Mr. DePisa, that that is one slice of what a shade tree commission can do.
Sure.
The other focus that I'm really passionate about is activating our residents in town who care about this issue for just the regular planting of shade trees and other greenery in town. So yes, that is an aspect of a commission, but not the only one, and probably not one that a shade tree commission spends most of its time on. Most of the time on, it's about maintaining and beautifying and you know, taking inventory, even educating our residents about the types of trees in town. And again, I think harboring the energy of our public, of our volunteers, is to me at the core of any kind of a board like that. That's what I believe is what makes towns even better, that, you know, we tap into our residents who have the energy, the time. Not all of you have the time to do that. Dean, you know, you're working 120 hours a week, you know, it's nice, but, well, for you, but, you know, I think tapping into that is the key. Thank you.
By the way, I did hear cicada bugs. It's supposed to be bad this year. It's supposed to be real bad this year.
Chris Muller, Forest Place. I wasn't going to talk about this, but he started it, and I had gone again to the Paramus Planning Board, and they did say one time, you know, their engineers, we received recommendations from the shade tree. I don't know if it was a commission or committee, but it was already like, because the residents were talking about buffers and stuff, and, you know, so the commission or committee had gone out and recommended and done all kinds of things like that. And just in that vein, and I wasn't going to say it, because did you ever go back to Westfield to try to negotiate something from them for their dumping everything that they're doing on us?
I've had conversations with their council, but that'll remain.
Yeah, I just was wondering, you know, if you have been there. Okay, I just wanted to ask about the resolution 024073 and the ordinance 11924, which is the yard regulations and height exemptions. And, you know, I think it's great and all that. And it does say it's for residential properties. Is that just for single-family homes? Or that can that spill into bigger developments?
So it's any of the homes located within the floodplain overlay, I know that.
Right, but I mean, if let's just say you started to develop this building, you know, and a bigger building, would that come into play of like set, you know, height exemptions and
Well,
set?
This,
Or is it just the house? Is it just homes?
like John, I believe it's just the homes, single, I want to
Just the
look,
ones
I want to find it.
Yeah, I didn't.
For all residential properties found within the special flood zone.
Well, I'm sure this is, if a developer came and wanted to put residential homes here on this flood hazard
In the floodplain?
Yeah, so would that fall under
I think
exemptions?
Doesn't it specifically say for homes being raised?
I think it's raised, it's for the homes that are going to be raised, so.
Yeah,
Because in other words, you
I mean,
would
I
get an
didn't see where it
exemption.
said raised.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
all right.
I know that was its intent, so I want to make.
Yeah, I just wanted to know
Flood
the
flood
intent.
elevation measures, right here. When the encroachment is strictly as a result of flood protection and/or flood elevation
There you
measures.
go, so that's
But
what
you
it's
could do
for.
that here too.
Two.
You could do that for a big building right here. They have to take flood
But it's-
measures. I'm just.
It's, so I guess the best way I can answer is it's all residential properties found within the flood zone plain. And then at the bottom, strictly as a result of flood protection and or flood elevation measures. So it's specifically geared toward residential properties
Right.
in the flood zone plain that are going to be dealt with for elevation purposes. That's the only time the exemption applies. Because obviously for elevating a home, now that the home is elevated, the
No, I
footprint
know
is.
all that, but I
Okay.
just all of a sudden thought of Topher coming, or trading, whatever.
Yeah.
Coming here, putting however many residences, residential area, they'll zone it some sort of residential area in a flood zone.
Yeah.
And then next year they gotta raise it, and then there's setbacks, exemptions, and then next thing, the balcony will be in the person's yard.
Is there that much?
That's what I just wanted.
Is there that much developable land in the flood zone
No,
plain?
not really, but.
That's my always concern. I guess I'm just thinking, right, not playing devil's advocate, but wondering in that scenario where that might be an issue. Normally, when you have these homes in a flood zone plain, a lot of that land is not buildable. I don't know if that's true or not.
Right.
If there's that much land that a developer can come and actually put up that much units in a flood zone plain, I don't know whether that physically is feasible or not, Dean.
Again, I'm reading.
I just don't.
I was kind of half listening, I apologize, because I'm reading where it says, so long as the property is elevated strictly for flood protection and no living
Correct.
space is below the base flood elevation, I could see where that could still be interpreted as somebody buys this property and wants to build.
Yeah.
I think at that point, it's gonna be incumbent upon the land use board to know
Yeah, to
this and
decide.
say, look.
But I guess I'm trying to think of a situation, is it even a feasible situation where a developer would be able to build so many units that it would be, number one, advantageous for a
Correct.
developer to do?
Right.
And number two, that would actually be detrimental somehow to the residents with all the building. I don't know if there's
Well, I'm just looking
physically.
at, the only
Yeah.
property is this.
Yes.
And there are houses in the back.
Yeah.
So if you ended up, another 10 feet taller, or like I said, something encroaching on, I just was wondering if, I originally thought you
Yeah,
were
but this
just
is
doing
allowing
the
so
home.
that, because someone's angle of their steps is gonna change, right?
Yeah.
Their front door is now 8 feet higher, so their front
Right,
steps
their house is
are
10
good.
feet
So I
taller.
don't know if building here,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I guess the best way to
qualify
say, these are the reasons that this all went through the township planner.
and.
Because the township planner is really the expert that would be able to look at it, and he not only reviewed it, but made some poignant revisions that I took into account and I incorporated. So, I mean, I think it's
No,
the
it
best way.
was
I
just
don't know if
something
it's
that
a-
popped into my head that.
No, I appreciate it. I don't know if it's a realistic issue.
Well, it's not right now.
It's not right now.
Well, I know you said it has to go to the planning.
Yeah, I mean, we
So
could
I
always
think-
amend language if need be.
And what I,
Need be.
right.
I mean, I think that the drive for all this is to make sure that we're doing what FEMA needs us to do to get the
That's
relief
exactly
to
what
the
I was saying.
At our
residents.
We have to get this
Yeah,
done.
like, I don't wanna,
No, I
If
know
we
all
delay
about it.
this,
I mean, there's,
think it's gonna
Yeah.
cause my issue, my concern is that, but I might be wrong, but if we
Correct, and it
say,
actually
no,
makes
let's
sense.
stop and delay this.
You're really
No, I'm not
really-
asking any of that, I'm just.
It can, I believe, and the attorney's correct, we can amend it, going down if
Well,
we
you
have
just
to.
said
but-
family home, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but right now, we need to kind of do this, I think.
Yeah, I think the
Mr. Pinto
relief-
said that it has to, we
It's
have to
gotta
do
go
all
through.
these steps, so,
Just
the
a
house is
thought.
This is to protect those
Just a
homeowners
thought.
involved in the
I
elevation.
don't want to surprise, and the way this town is always surprised, oh gee, we know how we are.
to me, you made a very valid point, that's to me.
All right, it's online that the Delford is opening March 1st, so we all know that. So they don't have a CO. Do they have a CO?
They do not. They'll be getting temporary TCOs. I know Mr. DiMaria is very aware of it. He's the one who's going to be signing off on them. So that's how it's,
March 1st, Friday?
my guess is yes.
Okay.
I know I
So,
spoke to
okay,
James.
a month ago, I asked if anyone knew the status of 120 DEP application for the flood hazard permit. That was filed January 30th, 2023, for a 1,200 square foot retail building with a ramp to elevated parking. The town received this notice of this application with a site plan on February 3rd, 2023. So does anybody have any knowledge of
I
this?
have not received that.
Because I asked you that, you last month. All right, so there's 4 parts to this project, right? There's storage, residential, ponds, and retail, all equally important. Along with the pilot, this was court mandated in a July 30th, 2018 settlement agreement, which says amended redevelopment plan will permit 8,000 square feet of retail and restaurant uses in which standards will authorize one drive-through restaurant, bank, and retail use. The planning board had these plans. It was discussed at length with the planning board when they got the approval for that. So before you give them a CO, do you think you should find out their plans and timeline for this part, this retail part, and also where they stand with the DEP? These are these little things that just disappear. You know what I mean? You're gonna let them open, and where is this retail section? You know, what happened to that? So that's, you know, I'm just asking you to be aware of that. Because if I didn't say it, you probably wouldn't even know about it. I mean, Gail knows. But, you know, we never heard anything else again about the retail section, so.
I'll ask the construction official.
Yeah,
That's
just,
his purview.
or go ask,
James.
whoever, or Sonny Jumanji, or whatever. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Yes. Anybody else for public portion?
Ed Kaniewski again, 6 Lincoln Avenue. Just like to supplement Christine's remarks. It's been a long time, probably several years since I looked, but there's a stack of documents probably that high of various settlement agreements in my recollection, and it's only my recollection, and it's probably more likely than not that I'm wrong. It's my recollection that the retail portion of the project over there was supposed to be the second thing done. And we had that, and then that. That looks like number 2. And then retail, as Christine Muller has indicated, seems to have been forgotten. So I would suggest that, or ask that somebody take a deep dive into the original documents and find out what the commitment was from the developer to commit to retail. It's important because.
Yeah, I would ask Doug. I recall some issue with regard to timelines at some point in the phases needing to be met for budgetary purposes or something. I just recall a conversation, but it's a while ago and it escapes me. I certainly don't want to speak from memory if I'm not sure, but I think Doug Doyle would be the person. Okay. That we look into and we ask about it.
Because remember the way, if we go back and it's now completely forgotten, the way that we make affordable housing is 2 ways. We make residences that people live in, or what the court said, and what is now forgotten is they also said is you make jobs. The building, I believe, across the street was supposed to deliver 6 jobs. 6 jobs or 6 people who'd be making income and who would be able to afford housing. Although that's pretty much the way New Jersey works. That's just one of those things that was said by a court and is probably, now forgotten in history. But as I said, if you look back, I believe that there is something in the agreements on the timing of that. And I thought it was a little bit questionable that the other building got built before that. I thought the sequence was 1, 2, 3, and it was going to be storage, retail, and apartments. And that's not the way it happened. So, and I said, I don't have good a memory on that. It's a long time since I've looked. The documents are about that thick, but it's in there somewhere. And I can't tell you which document it's in, although I do remember reading the section. So, thank you.
I don't recall a sequence. I mean, I've been in those meetings with you. I don't recall a sequence, but there was a lot of information.
Don't recall what?
I don't recall that there was a sequence, but I could.
There's a large number of documents. I don't believe
that's what I'm
signed
saying.
any of those. So.
But I don't know if the DEP made adjustments to the size of that retail. So that might be part of it. But that was never presented to us, so we don't know that.
I'm not sure that the DEP can make adjustments to affordable housing documents without involving the parties, but that's just my guess.
No, I'm talking about the retail, not about affordable housing.
Okay, what's your point again? I'm missing that.
So we don't know because it wasn't presented to us. But the DEP, when they had reevaluated everything, that's when they determined that they needed that other exit, that there were revisions to it. It may have been that the retail space was changed. Whether it was the size of it, that was never presented to us. We don't know that. But they did make adjustments when they...
If a change was made to sign documents
for affordable housing, which was signed off by the court and by the master, by the township, by the developer, wouldn't have to be a change?
They came to us with the change for the exit. They had to reevaluate
That's a
everything.
change for an exit, and the reason that the change for the exit was granted was they alleged that they needed it in the event, I believe, in the event of a flood.
Right,
But
that's
however,
DEP,
they
that's what I'm
did-
saying.
Well, that changed. They came to us originally and said, we need it because of a flood, and it seemed that it got a little bit wider. And they said, oh, we need it for any police or ambulance emergency, and that was kind of pressed on the planning board. I'd like to add, I had an additional concern, I believe I expressed it at the time. What I was worried about then and what I'm worried about now is the so-called emergency exit up there not be turned into an access to the Gordon State Plaza. My fear is that they didn't really want that for emergency access. What they really wanted was making their project more marketable so they can cut through without going on to, the main streets. They can cut through the plaza, and it's an advertising benefit. I can't say what they're going to do, but it would not surprise me that they would ask that so-called emergency exit be opened up as a street and give general plaza access, which is way different than what I thought the project would be.
Well, that was never presented to us either. It's a roped off
It was
exit
presented
for,
as an emergency access. It
right,
started
it's
as
a roped
flood,
off emergency.
and they changed it. And they said, okay, it's a flood and police and fire. We have the ambulances, and that's like important, and that's safety too. So they immediately expanded it beyond its original scope. And with what's going on, my concern is that you'll get some authority in Trenton or somewhere, or the county, he's going to decide it's a really good idea that we cut that access open. Otherwise, you're going to be putting traffic out on the streets out front. So we'll cut access and people will be able to get into the plaza. So that'll be the end of Fairfield, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you might as well hang the surrender flag up, and pave it all over, because it's going to be gone if they have 160 units exiting out and the ability to go in and out of the plaza.
Right, but it was never presented that way.
It wasn't.
No.
But I could see it coming, and it wouldn't surprise me if it got here.
Well, it would have to come back for the board then.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I'd just like to go back to my main point is I thought the sequencing was 1-2. There are actually quite a few documents that I've been through on that. I remember reading the sequencing, and I remember hearing about the jobs, and that was in the presentation of the developer. Simply, as Christine has pointed out, it seems to have gone by the wayside. But to me, it was important. It was part of their deal because it provided jobs. And jobs are important for people. It's important to provide housing, which they agreed to, and it's important to provide jobs. To my way of thinking, you just can't, back out from part of your project. I think they should honor their obligations. We're required to honor our obligations. They should honor theirs. It's fairly simple. Maybe there's an economic reason on that, but maybe that changes the whole dynamic of the project and it reopens negotiations. But anyway, that's my concern. I kind of agree with Christine's comments on that. We need to look into that. Okay, thanks.
My name is Marion Ganji. I live on Rochelle Ave. Never been to a meeting before, so I had emailed Mr. Pinto regarding commuter parking. So I don't know if this is a forum for new subjects or I should. Yep. Okay. So I live on the corner of Catherine Street and Rochelle Ave and been there for 20 years. And I had, when we purchased the house, a sign saying 2-hour limited parking, except for holidays and weekends. And unknown to my husband and I, 2 years ago, a storm took the sign down and police officers came and removed it. And then I was told, oh, it's not on the ordinance for parking. We had no idea. We are 2 blocks from the bus stop from Passaic in Rochelle Ave, and I would not have purchased that home without that being there so close to a bus stop. So this was 2 years ago, COVID was still going on, and now everybody's returning to work, and here comes the commuter parking. They're parked there. In my house, I have about 75 feet of shrubbery from my side door to my driveway, and all along 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. They're Massachusetts plates, New York plates. One day I saw the young guy coming out with the orange vest, and they were working on Oldie Street on the telephone poles, and I asked him, oh, I thought maybe he was a worker from 2 roads over, they need somewhere to park. Oh, no, I take the bus into the city, I'm doing the cables. So they're parking there and taking the bus into the city, and it's not my neighbor's parking, it's not my neighbor's friends, it's not, and we know parking is a big issue here in Rochelle Park. You call in your car overnight, no problem. There's a difference, you can tell. Anybody visiting, anybody who's friends, the cars come and go, no problem. But when I see the same 5, 6, 10 cars coming every single day, and they're taking the bus to the city, and they're not even mainly from Rochelle Park, that's not what, we purchased that home and had for 18 years. We had the sign there, and then I'm told, nope, it was never meant to be there. My husband didn't put that sign there, I didn't put it there. So we purchased that home with the sign. Realtor must have known, previous owner, town is aware.
It's not designated as a 2-hour parking area, so I won't authorize this sign.
Sure. No.
If you Google
It is
Earth,
not.
you'll see the
It's
sign
not.
there. Go ahead,
It is
Google
not.
Earth
So-
the address, it's in the pictures.
So could we do something like we did over by Lexington?
Again, I thought maybe it was a fluke. It's been since the past year and a few months. You could tell kind of when COVID resolved and everybody was going back to work. It's gotten to the point where, and we all have to do the driveway shuffle, right? Where you pull your cars out, you let your husband's car out, you let your kid's car out, and we had the commuters racing down the road to pull in and get their designated spots as my husband and I are pulling out just to put our car somewhere so we could get the next vehicle out.
Do we know, is it designated as a community lot or not?
No, it's a street.
Oh, it's just a street.
Regular roadway.
Taking advantage of the spot.
Yeah,
Well, it's not designated for 2-hour parking limit or residential parking only.
Right.
So you
I
can
mean,
do that,
one
and
street
then you're gonna
over-
move them to Aldous, and then they're gonna.
Well, one street over on Peak Street does have that sign.
Right.
And I did call the
Has
town
this-
to ask why, and nobody knew the reason.
Do we know
So
anything
I
about
assume it
this?
was the community park.
Yeah.
How come they had the sign before then, Mr.
You know?
Google
I'm sorry, do I have a magic ball in front of me? I have no idea.
All right.
I have no idea.
Yes, only if you know.
I do
No, I
not know.
know.
I do not know, no, and I don't know. This is why there was stop signs on several corners that aren't approved by the MUTCD. Prior administrations put them up. That sign was probably put up to alleviate concerns over commuter parking. When it came down, we looked at the ordinance, we said, there's no way to enforce this. We chose not to put the sign up. And I don't know, when did it come down? Because I know you reached out to us in
2
August of
years ago,
23.
It was just one of the
So, yeah.
storms, and the sign came down, and I even saw the police officer came and picked it up, and we just thought, oh, they're gonna put it back with cement. And then that's when I called them, found out it's not on the ordinance. I
Can
didn't
we
know
have,
where I
can we have a traffic study done to the traffic? study?
So Lieutenant Kukowski already did. It's 1 to 2 cars that park in that area during,
I mean, the problem is that you can't discriminate between residents, non-residents in terms of that sort of parking if it's a public street. Although
Yeah,
your
no,
concern
of
is
course.
valid because people in
Limited.
every town,
Several hours.
yeah, have
Limited.
the
I mean,
concern, but we could look at.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you the honest truth,
Be
my
able to
whole
get-
family has paid tickets because we left our car on
Do we
the
have-
street by accident.
Do we have-
10 o'clock at night, I go, is everybody's car in?
Yeah.
But some of these commuters were coming before 6 AM, and isn't the ordinance you can't park between 3 and 6 AM?
So do we know unless they call it in, right, you need residential parking ticket to park overnight?
No.
You have to
No.
you have to call it in.
The ordinance actually prohibits overnight parking.
It's not the
The
problem.
police department extended a courtesy because we get 50% of the residents show up here complaining that they want to be able to park, and then we get the residents complaining that we should have no vehicles parking on the street. We extended a courtesy, a vehicle could park 6 times per month. Basically, through use of the portal, our portal recognizes
That's
license
not a
plates.
problem. Overnight is understandable.
So this is more of a commuter time
That's-
parking
This
issue.
is the same
You could
commuters every
add
day.
this portion of the roadway to the 2-hour parking limit, put up a sign, and then the police department can enforce it. Now, one of the people happens to be a resident from Lincoln Drive that parks.
2 of them, there are 2, and they're every
So
day.
you'd be ticketing a
But
resident.
it's
for
hours.
parking in
They're
Rochelle
coming
Park.
at 7, and the car, they're not getting till 11 PM at night. So So meanwhile, now you have that, and no one can shuffle their car, nobody's relative can come visit, nobody, I mean, we have a two-family home right there across the street, and, they have family, they have friends. We have Rochelle Ave, you can't park on Rochelle Ave, so what if they have family and friends visiting?
But you can't park.
Right?
So
These
for
spots are
non-resident
filled
parking?
for
When the place
16
comes
plus
back to residents?
hours. Why these commuters go to the city to work. Now, listen, I work in Hackensack. You can talk to me for hours about parking. I mean, my nurses pay for parking. It's horrible. But guess what? We can't park on the street. I can't get a resident sticker there.
So we'll bring it up with this, we'll something to talk about, we'll discuss it.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a valid concern.
if you want to extend it 2 hour parking limit, you just add it to the ordinance.
It's just park,
We'll
park,
discuss
visit
it.
your family, friends,
And I'm
whatnot.
telling you, all this.
Come at 7 a.m. and get
We'll
your
put
car
on,
at 11 at
we
night.
can do a couple block radius of the park.
Every single
It's
7
just
days a
one
week.
block.
The weekends, fine, holidays, fine.
Yeah, we'll look
You just
into it.
want to deter it from being a
No, we are,
hotspot
I'm
for
following
people in the
you.
city.
So Mayor, if I may?
Yeah.
We can look into the ordinance on this, because, we're going back and forth.
Yeah,
And I
know
understand
it's
your.
a big decision.
Do
So
a
we have-
couple block radius.
But one of the things that we were just talking about quickly was that you have the main roads, you have Rochelle Avenue, you have Passaic Street, and then you have the small streets that off where those.
That's where I'm talking.
The bus stop areas are, and that's where I think I'm understanding. So
Yeah, I'm
maybe
right across from
there's
the
something
bike shop,
that we can
so-
look at the ordinance to add a couple, like the 2 hour parking, so it's not.
It's all now.
Non-residents or residents?
Well, you can't.
We can't do that.
Yeah,
We can't do that.
Yeah,
The sign that was,
time.
Time, yeah.
Time, so.
well, the
I
point,
think
the
we can
sign
look
was
into
there,
that,
and we
yes.
didn't have this issue for 18 years. We're gonna be living there 20 years.
Brought to our attention, we'll look into it.
Sorry?
You brought it to our attention, well, he's gonna look,
Thank
we'll
you.
look into it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
One other thing is very interesting to hear about, I know, I'm all for all the building, but again, please make them provide parking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Parking.
Walter Houghton, West Alder Street. I just have a suggestion, perhaps a request, that whether it's this resolution that you wanted to pass tonight or any other future resolution for the redevelopment, please be mindful of the jargon that's used. Tonight, I've heard several times, affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing. That's great. Unfortunately, affordable housing usually only goes based by income. I think we could set precedent by saying, not only do you have to have affordable housing, but you need to provide housing for the disabled. You need to provide housing for veterans. Let's not just say the people that are less fortunate with income. I believe the town lawyer said something about a builder's agreement. You might be able to put something in there. I don't know if I need to go to the planning board with this, but it's just food for thought. Because we do have a lot of veterans in town. We do have a lot of disabled people, especially elders, and living in Bergen County is not cheap. So if we can keep our residents close to home and in a community that they're familiar with, where their doctors are, their families, and friends, we should try and do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Diane Perhassel. A couple things. I wanted to thank the committee for recognizing 2 Eagle Scouts tonight. It means a lot to the families and the 2 boys. And also, I want to thank the police for their response. The other day, we have our Mahjong class on Monday mornings, and there was a person who was in need of assistance, and...
Sorry, I missed you.
No, and you know why I came.
Now I do.
But they came in, several officers came in, and the ambulance, it turned out, had to come from Hackensack, so they were delayed getting here. And the officers were very helpful. They gave the person oxygen. They were a big help, so we just want to thank them for that. As Jen mentioned, spaghetti dinner is not this weekend, it's the next weekend. I have tickets with me if anybody wants them. It helps the scouts, that's really where the money goes, so we appreciate their support. And the only thing I wanted to ask also, now that the weather's getting better, can we schedule, I meant to ask Dave, but he left, the painting of that fire zone curb on Forest? It used to be yellow because it's a fire zone from Rochelle Ave
Yeah,
back.
I'll reach out to Dave. He typically does that during the summer. so
Okay, I
that-
just thought when the weather got
because
warmer.
What happens during the school year is people hit it, or it becomes problematic.
Well,
But
the problem is that you
I'll pass
have
it along.
people that park there
I'll ask
from
them.
about 1 o'clock on, because they pick up the kids from Sage Day, and they park right up to the stop sign, even though you're not supposed to. And,
That's why he can't paint it during the school year. I get it.
but I'm just
I hear
saying,
you.
it would keep some of those people, or let the police enforce the rules, because somebody's gonna come around that corner, it's gonna be an accident, so before it happens, it's just to paint it back to where it was, that's all. Thank you.
Hi, Matt Trewinski, 127 Forest Place. There's a few things, I wasn't going to get up to speak, but there's a few things that became apparent tonight. Number one, Michael Warren definitely wants shade trees. I think we need to address that issue because that's very apparent. He made that very apparent. The other things that just creeped up, with regards to across the street with the project, you have the chairperson of your planning board here tonight speaking on behalf of his recollection of what needed to take place over there. And it had to go before the planning board, or they had to vote on that. And if they approved it with retail, which Tina Muller, I believe, would probably be accurate. She researches everything to death, so I know she definitely got that right. How can you issue a TCO on part of that project? And I understand you can issue a CO on a building or something on a project or a piece of it, but how are they going to work on retail if that's the emergency exit?
The emergency exit's in the rear of the storage building. It's not in the pad. But listen, to your point, I'm literally writing out an email to James DiMaria. He's the construction official. I'm sure he has the planning board resolution and whatever agreements he needs to have. And I'll kick it up to Doug Doyle as well. I'll redevelop attorney, make sure that.
Yeah, it seems like that communication, definitely there's some, appears there's like a disconnect somewhere along the line. But my point is, for example, right, I'm a builder. I've been in town since 1987, right? Work on a house. I go to buy a flip house. It's in no condition to sell. It's in no condition to rent. So they'll issue me a TCO with the only condition that I'm applying for a permit to renovate the place. And when I get done, I will get the CO before somebody sets foot on that property for liability reasons. Now, it just baffles me that we're entertaining the thought of a TCO on a building like that. The other issue, and the other thing
I suggest you call Mr. DiMaria and have a conversation with him because he's the expert in that area. I'm not. I don't know. I'm sure he wouldn't put his certification or his license on the line for absent.
The other part of this is too, I'm looking at also, when we had that rain and we had that flood, right? And you're talking about this piece here, or possibly if it were ever become like that piece over there, where do all these cars go in a flood? What kind of issues do we create for this street for the residents coming down? Unless this road is widened into a 2-lane road. I mean, there's a whole host of infrastructure problems.
That was actually discussed, if I may, Mayor?
Yes.
That was actually discussed last night with our CRS coordinator, OEM director, and James DiMaria at a meeting. The second floor of parking, and these residents are going to be told to shelter in place. There's no need for them to leave. Even if we suffer what we saw in January and December, and or if we saw what we suffered in 99, to shelter in place is their best option. So that's what they're being told. It's part of their rental agreements, part of their lease agreements. They're told that they're buying a home in a flood zone, that the first level floods, that their vehicle should be stored on the second floor, and or, if they can't, then they're going to have to find alternate parking before the storm. But they're being told to shelter in place, so I would hope that alleviates some of the vehicles looking to move out.
As a police department or as a community, how do you enforce something like that? How can you enforce something?
You don't.
Okay, so you're putting something out or a condition that's not enforceable, and it's going to create an issue for.
Nobody on this day has put it out.
What's that?
Nobody on this day has put it out, nor did I, right?
No, but it's got to be approved.
It is approved by the planning board, and they went from, that's how it's approved.
But again, when does it become a health issue or a risk issue for the rest of the community? That's my point.
Listen, it's a risk issue if we have to go in there and evacuate people, right? We know that. We're putting police officers, firefighters at harm's way anytime they got to go into water.
I mean, you know the town.
I'm not arguing with you, I'm telling you.
You know the town, you drive down the residential streets to see what happens on the street just when there's a flood when Chestnut floods, Berdan. You see what kind of havoc is there just for single residences, for where they put the cars. And I'm looking at that building and I'm picturing cars all over the place.
I remember in '99, that parking lot being full of floating cars.
Yeah. I mean, that just baffles me. I just don't understand how that, and then to entertain the thought of doing that here.
Well, I don't know who's that.
Well, if we're talking about, I don't know, I thought I heard that conversation a little bit tonight, but if we're entertaining that thought, without widening this road, I don't even see how it can be done personally, but smart development, right? Smart development. We know we're going to develop. Every town is going to develop. I'm talking to you, I'm talking to the whole town, because you seem to have most of the answers, so I'm talking to you. But we're going to develop, but we want smart development, right? I mean, we got to think for the rest of the community, not just for the developer.
I've sat up here before, I tell you again, I always put Rochelle Park first, and I start that conversation with any developer that ever comes into a room. My infrastructure, my schools, and the safety of residents is the paramount priority. That's how we start every conversation. I hear you, I agree with you.
We start that way, but somehow we end up now,
I wasn't part of these discussions.
We're in a position now that it's becoming, to me, it appears it's going to be a very difficult condition to meet, or a very difficult position to meet. And
there's
again,
the DEP guidelines, et cetera, so yeah.
It sounds like, maybe the planning board should meet with the mayor council over stuff like this and have a little powwow on what was approved and what wasn't approved, so you get brought up to speed, everybody understands. Instead of them having to try and read and decipher through documents, he knows firsthand. He just happened to be here tonight. Invite him into it, bring him into a meeting, right? Anyway, thank you very much, and please give Mr. Warren some trees.
I'm sorry, I just haven't finished something that's a mix-up here. Across the street, it was a settlement agreement. They have to do 4 parts. It has to be. And same with the pilot. Everybody says, the pilot, we were mandated to have a pilot for that building. Okay, it's the project, right? But each one would be coming to the planning board separately. The storage unit came separately, like 2 years, whatever. Then the pond we asked about, and they go, oh, no, we're just doing the pond. That's not your business, at the planning board. And then the building came, and we listened to the building, not the retail section. Okay, so there's 4 parts, but individual
approvals, yeah.
So we never really got to the retail, but on the applications, some of the application, they had a retail, and it was sold to us like, oh, a Panera Bread's gonna be there, and it's gonna be a little meeting center, you can go have coffee, and it'll be nice for the town, blah, 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 blah. But at that point, we only did the residential center. So as a matter of fact, which was something I, yammered on about, was that when they went for that building, the plans they gave the DEP said that the existing lawn where the retail is will remain, the existing lawn will remain. So they didn't even tell the DEP, because I asked, did you tell the DEP? And they said no. And then they said, well, we have to come back for that. So we did have plans for that, but it was never heard at the planning board. So, but it's something that needs to be done, and I just want them at some point, all my question was when are they gonna abide by the settlement agreement through the courts? Otherwise, we can go back and sue them. Everybody's always suing us. I know you're not going to, but say, where is the 4th part of the plan? So I just want to make it, put the right thing out there that we didn't hear the retail part but they did send in like I said, I guess they went to the DEP a year ago with a different looking retail establishment there. So, I just want to make, if you ask Mr. Di Maria or whoever, and he'll say, well, that wasn't even part of it, because they did not put in the official application. But when you look at the overall picture, they have to build that thing. And, just ask them, when are they doing this?
Well, and if you could see me after the meeting, I just want to get the right information on that DEP
Yeah,
that you talked about.
okay.
So I get that.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Ed, just gotta make it quick, but you've been up a couple times.
Ed Horst, I just came to agree with Christine. I think Mr. Chirinsky was wrong when he sets you out to looking at the resolutions on the building, because you're not going to find the retail in either the storage or in the apartments, because there was no approval of it. Christine's correctly summarized it. The place you're going to find the retail discussion is in what I call the settlement documents, which is a large stack of things which are not basically the planning board resolutions. So those were the original documents that arose out of the litigation, and there was quite a bit of paperwork done. It's in there. So I agree with Christine on that. If you're looking at the planning board resolutions on those buildings, you're not going to find it. You need to look at the original documents. Thanks.
We get a motion to close public session?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Pacsetti?
Yes. Mayor Pacsetti asks for a motion to approve the minutes as listed below. Work session minutes dated February 14th, 2024. A motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
I'll abstain.
Okay. And Mayor Pacsetti?
Yes. Introduction of ordinances. R 24-069, introduced ordinance number 1195-24, capital ordinance of the Township of Rochelle Park, the County of Bergen, New Jersey, authorizing the undertaking of the engineer and administrative phases of the FEMA home elevation project by and for the Township, appropriating therefore the sum of $157,137, providing that such sum so appropriate shall be raised from a federal grant. The mayor asks for a motion introduced by the title of the first reading ordinance 1195-24 by the way of a resolution number 24-69, capital ordinance of the Township of Rochelle Park in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, authorizing undertaking and engineer and administrative phases of FEMA home elevation project in, by, and for the Township, appropriating therefore the sum of $157, providing that such sum so appropriate shall be raised from a federal grant and is published in the full Bergen record and notice of the public hearing to be held on March 13, 2024. Ask for a motion?
So motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy? Yes. Mayor Pacsetti?
Yes. Introduction ordinance number 1196-24, R 024070, upon ordinance authorizing funding of the township portion of the cost of energy efficiency improvements at the various township buildings and facilities being undertaken in conjunction with the PSC&G in, by, and for the Township of Rochelle Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $215,000 to pay the cost, therefore, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, finance such appropriations, and provide for the issuance of the bond, anticipation notes, in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Yep. We can go through and just read by title and ask for a motion based on the title. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Can I ask for a motion?
So motion.
I'll second.
Yep. Roll call?
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Pacsetti?
Yes. R 024-071, introduced ordinance number 1197-24, bond ordinance authorized undertaking of various improvements to Carlock Field in, by, and for the Township of Rochelle Park and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $460,000 to pay the cost, therefore to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bond. Ask for a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Vassetti?
Yes. R 24-072, introduce ordinance number 1198-24, bond ordinance authorize the resurfacing of Harvey Avenue from West Passaic Street to Hahn Avenue, in, by, and for the Township of Rochelle Park in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $600,000 to pay the cost, therefore to authorize the issuance of the bonds to finance such appropriations to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Make it a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
Mayor Vassetti?
Yes. R 24-69, introduced ordinance number 1195-24, capital ordinance of the Township of Rochelle Park and County of Bergen, New Jersey, authorizing the undertaking of the engineering and administrative phases of the FEMA home elevation project in, by, and for the Township of appropriating, therefore the sum of $157,137 and providing that such sum so appropriation will be raised from a federal grant.
Wait, hold on, Mayor. I think we're on 11-24. It's the yard ordinance? Yeah, hold on.
Idiot, my
I got you.
Page mixed up.
1199.
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on, let me make sure.
Oh, there's
It's right there. That's where.
double page.
Got it.
24-73, introduced ordinance number 1199-24, ordinance to amend chapter 185 of the code of the Township of Rochelle Park, and specifically to amend section 185-106 entitled Yard Regulation, and section 185-103C entitled Height Exemption. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Vassetti?
Yes. R 24-074, introduced ordinance number 1200-24, an ordinance to amend chapter 112 of the Code of the Township of Rochelle Park, and specifically to amend section 112-6, entitled Storage of Waste Collection, and section 112-8, entitled Violations and Penalties. Can I get a motion?
So motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Vassetti?
Yes. R 24-75, introduced ordinance number 1201-25, an ordinance to amend chapter 112 of the Code of the Township of Rochelle Park, and specifically to amend section 112-16 entitled Receptacle Requirements, Time of Placement, and section 112-8 entitled Violations and Penalties. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Vassetti?
Yes. R 24-076, introduced ordinance number 1202-24, an ordinance to amend chapter 159 of the Code of the Township of Rochelle Park, and specifically to amend section 159-2, entitled Smoking and Use of Electronic Smoking Devices Prohibited in Municipal Buildings and on Municipal Property. You get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy? Yes. And Mayor Vassetti?
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna make the motion to.
All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Township Committee and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a committee member or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda, considered in its normal sequence of the agenda as part of the general order.
Yeah.
Resolutions number 024-077, -078, 079, skipping 081, and we'll put it on hold. Then, resolution number 024082, 024-083, resolution 02484, resolution 024085.
So Mayor, just for clarity, we need a motion to remove resolution 024081 from the consent agenda. So
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
Mayor Vassetti?
Yes. And now motion to approve all the other items.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Sorry.
Roll call?
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Vassetti?
Yes.
Okay, now motion to pass the consent agenda as amended.
I get a motion for that?
So motion.
Second?
A second.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Vassetti?
Yes. And I took a motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Peachy?
Yes.
And Mayor Vassetti?
Yes. Next meeting, work session, March 13th, 2024 at 7 PM.
Committee has to be here at 6 o'clock. for the
6
training.
6 o'clock.
So what about talking to Mr. Doyle?
Close.
That's the regular meeting. So you guys will do training 6 to 7, and then the regular meeting will go to close.
We're gonna come in right
Yes.
after that.